They send our sons to war, a cruel charade, a racket built on blood, where fortunes are made. They lie about the reasons, spin tales so tall, while heroes die for profit and empires fall. Politics a game, a circus of clowns, puppets on strings. They parade through our towns. They distract and divide us with hate as their tool, pitting brother against brother in a world they misrule. When the powers that be warn you not to go beyond the pale, then that's a sure sign there's more to the tale. Their anti-human agenda, it's plain as the day. They view us as bugs in their cold, heartless play. Eat insects, they sneer, while they feast on the land. Depopulation's their goal, with a tightening hand. Civil rights torn to shreds in the name of their peace. A police state rises where freedom's all seized. Gaslight us with propaganda, their lies never end, twisting truth in their grip till our minds start to bend. When the powers that be warn you not to go beyond the pale, then that's a sure sign there's more to the tale. Order out of chaos, their sinister creed. They spark the flames, then offer what we need. Economic stagnation, they choke out our dreams, while divide and conquer rips us at the seams. They fan every fracture, they stoke every fight, left against right, till we're blind to the light. Yet beyond their pale lies the truth they conceal, a world where we're free, where our hearts can still heal. When the powers that be warn you not to go beyond the veil, then bold, and that's a sure sign there's more to the tale. So step past their warnings, their fences, their lies. See the world they've been hiding with wide open eyes. Beyond the pale, where their power grows frail, we'll reclaim our future and truth will prevail.
Howdy there, folks. Welcome to Beyond the Pale. I am your host, RB Ham, and it's a Wednesday night, June 17th. Going live with Matthew Ehret here to discuss Disclosure Day, the whole alien agenda thing, the psychological manipulation, the operation, everything behind it. Just waiting for him to return, and there he is, Matthew Ehret. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, good, RB. How are you?
I've been watching you all week over at the Duran and a whole bunch of other places discussing this very subject, and very interesting. The timing, of course, because you go back through history. At one point, this is all tinfoil hat stuff, very fringe. Now all of a sudden, it's mainstream, and you even have governments like in the Senate holding disclosures on. On UAPs, they're calling them now, not UFOs, because it sounds like it's less tinfoil hatty.
Mm-hmm.
Unarmed, what is it? Unmanned aerial phenomena.
They're rebranding all of the terms. Like pedophiles are now minor attracted people, so that's more socially acceptable. The UFOs are now UAPs, so now it's socially acceptable, and makes sense that Steven Spielberg would be all over these things.
It would, and
on both.
We may get into this. We may even come to the point where we look in Mr. Spielberg himself and some of his past. His very first film, Amblin. Have you ever watched it, by the way? His very first film?
I haven't. That's where Amblin Entertainment got its name, from his first film? I didn't.
Yes.
What's that about? I didn't know that.
It's his very first film. It's like 38 minutes long. It's a hippie film set in the late 60s, where a guy goes hitchhiking, or he goes in a VW van, picks up a girl. They have a romantic sexual affair. No words are spoken except for a soundtrack. They go to a beach. He goes jumping into the beach, fully clothed. She looks through his suitcase and finds stuff that's odd: a suit, a tie, and what is it? Toothpaste, mouthwash, and Phillips milk of magnesia.
Milk of magnesia. That's for when you're constipated, right, or something.
It's also what pedophiles feed children so they will clear their bowels.
No.
Yes, and it's in his first film.
Oh,
I just blew your mind, Matt.
Whoa, yeah, you got me, man. You got me. I didn't. Whoa.
And then she looks disappointed, puts everything back away, and then walks up the beach and leaves.
No words
spoken. The film. No words spoken in the film, just a couple soundtracks.
And the fact that became the theme for his Amblin Entertainment that produced so many movies, that says a lot. And that also makes a lot of sense when you look at like what he did in his most recent film, which we're going to talk about today, I suppose. Disclosure Day, which you and I both watched last night. Cynthia,
yes, we did our due diligence. I took my wife to it. Mm-hmm. And we went to we did the VIP experience. We could have the reclining seats just in case we fall asleep. We're comfortable, you know? And there were times where I was starting to nod off because it hit all the old tropes, all the bull crap of the alien grays and the mind control and the and all that.
What'd you guys think? What'd your wife think? What'd you think? Like overall, when you walked out of it,
my wife is incredibly just. She looked at, she's not into it like I am. The deeps like I the day after Roswell, I fell for this when Corso.
Oh, Corso, yeah.
And then, of course, good old Jim Marr's alien agenda. He comes closer than anybody trying to tell us we're being psyoped.
Right.
And then I have the secret history of extraterrestrials, advanced technology, and the coming new race. And this was the transhumanist look at it, saying, "Ooh. Oh yeah, a very good book by Len Kasten." And he again came close to the whole idea of the psychological operation. And then Stanton T. Friedman, of course, top secret.
Stanton Friedman.
He fell hook, line, and sinker for the Majestic 10 documents. It's kind of sad.
Majestic 12, no?
Or is that Majestic 12, right? Majestic 12 documents.
Well, I got the sense that he probably I feel like when I've listened to a lot of his interviews at this point, and when I hear him speak and I look at his role in invoking or re-invoking the big narrative back in the 70s, because he revived the Roswell story. He was the first one with the National Enquirer.
Yeah.
And they quickly brought William Moore online to participate in the ritual, with William Moore, being assigned with Chris Berlitz to write the Roswell incident book that kind of popularized the story. And this guy just seems like he's so self-aware. he speaks in a tone that at this point it's hard to put into words, but it's the sort of character type, the personality profile that I feel is of the higher level magicians who are very aware of the ritual that they're participating in, kind of like J. Allen Hynek, who was also very self-aware, of a similar stature, I find, as Friedman was.
And
I don't know as much about Friedman's background. Like, I know more about J. Allen Hynek's Rosicrucian magician background.
Stanton Friedman was a nuclear physicist. I always thought of nuclear physicists as kind of magical thinking people.
Did he participate in the Manhattan Project, or was he younger than that?
I think he was a periphery of that.
Because I know J. Allen Hynek was too. That's where he was recruited as an astronomer and brought into the Manhattan Project, which was the whole secret science apparatus where only the like a certain category of personality type was welcomed into that into the executive nerve center of the Manhattan Project, which was a very highly compartmentalized, everyone knows this at this point, secret science program that was arranged by British intelligence. People think it was purely American. It wasn't. It was actually Sir Henry Tizard who led the Tizard Committee into Washington in 1940 to help teach the Americans on how do you do proper secret science, and infused a lot of the architecture from that was already well developed in England into the Americans. And they were assigned to vet certain profiles to be iced out of any type of decision making, like Einstein and Kurt Gödel were not allowed to be involved in any way because they had still the old school morality associated with their idea of science. So they weren't allowed to take part. But the Oppenheimers, the Szillards, the Leo Szillards, those who had been initiated into the esoteric worldview of that was sort of the part of the governing intellectual lever of control. They were allowed into the various highest echelons of the nerve center. So it makes sense that it would be through that a lot of these, Hynek was a young guy. Friedman would have been a very young guy during that time, but they would have been ushered in and initiated in that milieu to keep the tradition going of using science at the service of the occult for the purpose of social
and Hynek even kind of played the role of the professional wrestling. Hynek first comes in and he's completely debunking everything, and then he does the heel turn or the good guy or the baby turn, and then becomes a advocate for them. Of course, right?
It's the same, and it's the same thing that Eric Weinstein is doing today. It's the same model where Weinstein is. He was sold as being the critical thinking role model who was going to debunk all of the UFO, stories. And he did that for a very short period, much shorter than Hynek. Hynek maintained that for at least 20 years before he had his big conversion. And then all of a sudden now you see that Eric Weinstein has come out saying, okay, I'm actually sold on interdimensional beings, and I was wrong. And a lot of the shallow critical thinking community that idolized him and that were following him accompanied him on this alchemical transformation of their personality profile, saying, well, if our great hero, this great genius, Eric Weinstein is becoming swayed, I guess I was also, who am I to say that Eric is wrong? And they're all easily, going now for their own Saul to Paul conversions, just like Hynek's followers did the same thing back in 1965 when he made his leap. So it's a common ritual. I've seen this even being done in deep history. If you look at what's his name, Tertullian, the father of Latin Christianity. I don't know if you've looked at Tertullian at all.
No, I haven't. That's above my head, but
it's an interesting character because the whole Gnostic infusion, the occult infiltration into the Christian skin suit was largely made possible during the Roman Empire. There was many phases of doing this, but one of the key things was the Latinization of Christianity, and that's where this guy played a big role at attacking any of the Greek thinkers who were Christian and saying that no, what do the Greeks have to do with Christ? Saying that no, we only need to use the proper Latin worldview and Latin language to come to terms with any ideas of Christianity. And then he propped himself up as this is middle 1st century, 2nd century period, right? Early battle. And he props himself up as the enemy of the Gnostics. So the new Gnostic cults that are all trying to call themselves Christian, but they're not. When you read the Nag Hammadi scriptures and this shit, it's super immoral even doctrines that are trying to subvert Christianity from within with these very esoteric agencies calling themselves Christian, but actually carrying out like ritual orgies, human sacrifice, secret teachings of a Scythian serpent Jesus character. And so he's like representing Orthodox Christianity of a Latin sort and battling the Gnostics and coming out as like the champion of like, you know, like traditional Christianity on the one side. And he's doing this for years and years and years, but his method sucks. So when you read Tertullian and his attacks on the Gnostics, even though the Gnostics are garbage, his arguments against them are terrible because he's not using reason. The reason that God gave all of us to use and get better or worse at, ideally God probably wants us to get better at using this power of reason. He doesn't use it. He actually really doesn't believe that's even holy. He thinks that you should only use the literal scripture as a battering ram to enforce obedience in heretics or destroy the heretics. If people follow that method, they're really going to do damage to the thing that they think they're defending when they call themselves Christian. Now, number two, later on in life, like the last 20 years of his life, he has this big conversion after he's made a name for himself, trying to attack all of the Platonic Christians who were using in properly so Greek, like Origen and there's so many of the Clement of Alexandria, like all of these are like really good people who are using the power of reason and saying question everything, you know, like don't take anything for as assumed a priori to be true. And if something is true and the Bible says so, don't necessarily just say it's true because the Bible says so. Say it's true, and the fact that the Bible says so might say something very good about the Bible and its thinking, but don't use the opposite way of logic that's incompetent, and you'll do damage to the truth. Tertullian, he does a big road of Damascus conversion, and he becomes a Gnostic. So, and he literally joins the Montanist sect, which are these, you know, end times eschatological, orgiastic Gnostics that he ends up following, who go into like altered states and spew out, you know, higher teachings of
like talking in tongues or handling snakes.
Yeah. That's exactly what they do. That's what they're known for. And that's what he joins, and he takes his followers with him too. And so that's part of this two-pronged attack by the occult agencies fighting Christianity to destroy Christianity, is to infiltrate it, co-opt it from within, make it rigid, make it Latin, make it structuralistically logical, anti-creative, and demanding of obedience on the one hand, making it a perfect sort of tool of imposing imperial power, smothering the infidels and justifying crusades. And on the other hand, you then also co-develop these Gnostic alternative paths for free thinkers to jump into when they don't like the rigid structures.
And you still you still control both sides.
And you control both sides. And they've been doing that ever since. So it's The
more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yes. So Steven Spielberg, man. All right. So what else? What else did you guys think about her?
I'm going to play for the first 3 minutes of this.
Yes.
Where do I have it? I have to have it on presentation. There we go. When I go for my movie reviews, I always go to Nerdrotic, but I like this guy because he doesn't go too deep. He's all about the entertainment value of it, the story, you know, how it makes, you know, the filmmaking, the writing, all that stuff. He really goes into it. And this is the first 3 minutes of his review of the film. And then I'll stop and I won't play the whole thing, but I think it's a good opening as a foundational structure for what we're going to be talking about.
What's that movie?
If everything's ready, you're on the dark side of the moon.
30 Encounters.
Oh, that is? Oh, I thought it was taking place. I thought the landing was happening at like a mountainside or something. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Right. It's been 50 years. Oh, of course, yeah. Richard Dreyfuss.
So that's how it started. And how it going.
homoerotic.com.
Greetings, you over 1 million lovers of cinema, for which every single one of you has enjoyed a Steven Spielberg movie at one point in your life, and the 40% who haven't subscribed yet, who have also enjoyed a Steven Spielberg movie or 10 at some point in your life. This may be the most difficult review I've ever had to record in the history of this channel. While I obviously have no problems ripping a bad movie, and quite often, oh hell, all the time, I enjoy it, this is not that day. I do not relish the thought of giving a Steven Spielberg movie a bad review, but here we are. This is the cinematic equivalent of taking away Grandpa's car keys, because without a doubt, Disclosure Day is Steven Spielberg's worst and most disappointing film by far. And yes, I'm including 1941, his subpar segment in the Twilight Zone movie. Hook, Always, BFG, and Ready Player One are masterpieces compared to this, and I would go so far as to say that Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull is better than Disclosure Day, and that's not even an Indiana Jones film. I would even watch the most vanity project in the history of vanity projects, Fabelmans, over watching Disclosure Day again. Steven Spielberg doesn't have a perfect record, but even in his mediocre films, there's a certain amount of cinematic excellence. They were well directed despite having crappy stories. The same cannot be said for Disclosure Day. And full disclosure for me, I'm not only a UFO enthusiast, I'm a hardcore believer. So much so, I do a show every Sunday night at 5:30 p.m. Central called Forbidden Frontier, where we discuss the UFO topic and many more. Inspired by the late, great Art Bell, I've read hundreds of books on the UFO subject, from Jacques Vallée to Richard Dolan.
I didn't know you could read.
And considering Steven Spielberg wrote and directed the greatest UFO movie of all time, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, I was cautiously optimistic. The best description of Disclosure Day, I mean, aside from it being Nuns on the Run, which is pretty spot on, is that it is the most boomer movie of boomer movies in the truest sense of the word boomer. Now, of course, the corporate critics love it, and the cope out there is we plebs didn't understand it. So forgive us for being so media illiterate that when we go to see a movie called Disclosure Day, we expect to see some actual disclosure and not an entire film about the lead up to it, leaving out all the interesting stuff, what happens after Disclosure Day. But we got you, media illiterates. And you heard me right. Not sorry for spoiling this, because I'm saving 2 hours and 25 minutes of your life. The actual disclosure happens at the very end of the film in the most cringe way possible, and we don't see what happens afterwards. The film revolves around three underdeveloped primary characters who you could care less about, starting with Daniel Kellner, who's modeled after Edward Snowden, a man who is considered a traitor by all the politicians Steven Spielberg supports. Daniel steals alien technology that looks like the crystal from the Fortress of Solitude and long-hidden files of human-alien contact from a government agency called Wardex, the most incompetent government agency this side of chaos from Get Smart. There's a boomer reference for you. He does this because he feels like humanity has a right to know something I completely agree with. He manages to free his girlfriend, who used to be a nun, from the most incompetent government agency this side of chaos, and it plays out like this.
Oh, Lordy Lord, he's desperate. Do what he say. Do what he say.
Now, the leader of this incompetent government agency is Noah Scanlon, played by Colin Firth, who back in his younger days would have been a perfect Arthur Dent. Anyway, the main character is played by Emily Blunt, who isn't really brilliant in this, playing the weatherwoman Margaret Fairchild. She plays a weatherwoman who aspires to be an anchor whose super secret alien powers are unlocked by a horrifically CGI'd bird. She's also dating a musician played by Wyatt Russell, and this is just for Wyatt Russell between you and I. You need to fire your agent, brother, because you need to stop taking roles that cast you as an idiot cuck. But you are a great John Walker in the MCU who did nothing wrong. Now, Margaret and Daniel are supposed to have some sort of mysterious connection that is part of the mystery box of this film, but anybody with two working brain cells outside of the corporate critics can figure out immediately that they were alien abductees. Then the rest of the film is a game of, well, I can't call it cat and mouse. Let's call it Helen Keller and Ricky Berwick. And all this is happening.
That's enough. He basically got a hold of it. It's really badly done. It's thrown together. It's hackneyed. Impossible, improbable things. The leader of this, of course, it's not the government; it's an evil corporation. You know, so they don't.
It was a government contractor that's been contracted with the Department of Defense to manage all of this secret science and secret tech that they've been reverse engineering, and also the biotics of the aliens that they've been also, dissecting.
And the secret tech is a little thing you can hold in your hand, which you can use to apparently threaten to blow people up. They'll let you leave. At the same time, if you hold it, you can mind meld with people. You can take over their bodies.
Yeah, well, it's like a Project Stargate remote viewing thing where, the CIA was funding the Project Stargate operation around that time in the 70s that went on throughout the 1990s. And that's one of the promises of Project Stargate, is to do what Colin Firth's character who's appropriately assigned as a British guy. I
Mhm.
found that interesting that they assigned a British guy to run this American secret intelligence contracting whatever outfit,
Of course.
which is actually kind of appropriate. That is kind of the
Well,
way
I
it
think
works.
he weaves in some of the actual truth behind all this stuff, right, with the complete farcical stuff, right?
Sure, that's how it works. But yeah, so it's that's right. They have this weird thing that they hold on to, and they can do remote viewing, take over people's bodies, their minds, even make them kill.
Mhm.
Although there's this disgusting, like I like what this guy was saying from the podcast you were just playing, the nerd vision or whatever. What's his name?
His name's
Nerd-
Gary. I forget his last name.
Gary. Okay.
He's been on the Y-Files a couple times. He's really good movie reviewer. He's got a great life story, great backstory. He was in jail and all that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got a drug problem, let's just say. So he has to stay on the straight and narrow. But when he's got a really brilliant movie reviewer, he hits all the right spots.
Yeah.
But
the disdain, like the fact that he's into aliens already, like that makes it even more valuable to listen to his review.
Oh, and he buys he's not a deep thinker like me and you going into the esoteric behind it and all that stuff. He just loves the film, loves the genre, gets blown away. He's into that, right? He loves the MCU, all those things. He's really into it.
But it's true, like it's super, it's slimy. Like you could just feel the sliminess of the agenda, like overly in a forced way, forcing these nuns into the storyline. This guy's girlfriend was a former nun. She's got Mother Superior, who she's interfacing with, who's actually a super open-minded believer in aliens.
Of course.
And, you've got this whole kind of just these forced dialogues that are supposed to induce an empathy in the audience that forces people who do have some connection to their Christian faith or any faith to go along for this dialectic journey to come to the conclusion that, I guess
it was at least 20 years ago now that the Vatican Church funded that telescope project in California, and they called it Lucifer.
Yes.
Right? And and 20 years ago, they were saying, well, if there are aliens out there, that's great. We'll just convert them to Christianity once we find them.
Well, that was one of the big coups that Pope Francis, the Jesuit Pope, was able to invoke, was to extend. He passed some sort of an edict extending the sacraments to alien beings when we find them. And I'm not against the idea. In principle, I'm not against. I don't even disbelieve that there is intelligent life that's very likely out there in our galaxy, in the universe,
or interdimensionally.
I don't even know what that means anymore. The very word interdimensional at this point, people don't even like look at the dimensions we do live in with and can investigate. We don't even look at those things, and we're already talking about like what's in the fifth dimension and what kind of drugs do we need to access the fifth dimension. So I don't even know what that means anymore. But all that to say, it's a big universe. So, sure. But the agenda and the sliminess of how it's being worked into the reform of Christianity, into the reform of our culture, it's so dishonest. It's so ugly and pushed by pedophiles, which again comes through. Like Cynthia was telling me when the movie was over, she's like, do you have like a strange urge to legalize pedophilia? And I had to laugh because, Spielberg does infuse a lot of very disturbing imagery, right? The symbolic pedophile-oriented imagery throughout the whole thing that does indicate that the children who were getting probed were going through ritual MK Ultra abuse.
Exactly, and that's what I want. This is of all the reviews I cast about that closely went to what I was thinking amongst this. This is from Jonathan Pageau over at X. Give him a follow. I promise no spoilers as much as possible. Here's the basics for Disclosure Day. It is one of the most shocking pieces of propaganda I've seen in a while. It is the last call of the World War II consensus. Aliens are your saviors, and empathy is the only virtue. In a post-Epstein world, it dares have a story of children seduced and kidnapped by aliens pretending to be Disney-style animals, taken to Hansel and Gretel's house, this is what it is called in the movie, to be imbued by aliens in a way so traumatic that they forget and repress it until they're adults, only to discover that this initiation has given them the power to see people's secret thoughts, pretend to be other people and use that to manipulate, make things in plain view disappear, translate foreign and alien languages, be a passenger for the aliens' message to the world.
Yes.
This is nothing to say about its take on Christianity and the suggested apostasy around accepting these beings.
Yes.
Then finally, the entire movie is a final desperate appeal to the traditional media as the only purveyors of truth. I noticed that too. The entire drama of the film is a man who has irrefutable video proof of aliens looking to release it. The whole movie is a series of chases against the evil corporation that wants to keep it hidden. He ends up releasing it on the evening news. Yes, you heard me. He releases it on the evening news, which is then transmitted to all the traditional media companies that are named ABC, CNN, Fox News, etc. Anyone under 70 will realize that the movie could have ended in 10 minutes with a laptop and Wi-Fi. It is really mad. Don't go see it.
Well, that's a great overview by Pat.
Yes.
That's fantastic, and it's true. Like in this day, that scenario might have worked in the early 90s, 80s, whereas the guy has access to the internet the whole time. He has all of his data on USBs. You could upload it to WikiLeaks in 2 seconds if you're truly Edward Snowden.
Right.
Or a Snowden type of character, but you don't do that. You're obsessed with getting to this news outlet and
Weather Girl,
broadcasting it, using the Weather Girl, who just so happens to be a poor traumatized MK Ultra monarch, mind control victim.
yes.
And of course, there's butterflies, right? Going back
Everywhere.
to everywhere in this girl's life,
and plus who and what gives her the key to remember all this stuff? A red cardinal.
And what did that mean? I didn't look into that. What that's Jesuit.
That's the Jesuit. After the French Revolution with the Three Musketeers? Who was that Cardinal? Richelieu.
Yeah,
the evil Cardinal Richelieu, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I believe that this was the Red Cardinal, the Jesuit. There's the White Pope, the Black Pope, and the Red Pope, and the Red Pope is always the Jesuit in charge, right? The Jesuits seem to have more power than either the Black or White Pope, and is the one the secret society of Jesus, right? The secret society. Yeah. The one that goes behind that, the work that works intelligence. I mean, it was the very first Western intelligence agency that spanned borders was the Jesuits, and they always sent the Jesuits in first, right?
Yeah, well, like Albert Pike said, the Templars were stupider forms of earlier Jesuits. They were assigned with all the powers of what the Jesuits later on performed, but they were less sophisticated and thus more hot-headed, less able to actually do the job. Mm-hmm. And got sloppy and thus taken down when they tried to buy the world. Yeah. And the Jesuits had made corrections a few centuries later when they came out doing the exact same thing, basically. Mm-hmm. So yeah, very good point. I didn't know that about the cardinal imagery and the Jesuits, and the idea of the cardinal itself as a name of that bird to the Cardinal Richelieu or any cardinal, which is a very powerful figure in the church. Highly interesting, and the Red Pope idea is a concept I haven't really looked at, so I find that also very, very interesting. Thank you. But the girl as well, so she's got these repressed memories with this guy, and like Pajot says, that really got us. That when she finally is revisits these memories by having that creepy house that she was born into reconstructed by the white hat sort of QAnon good guys who are sort of there in the background managing things and
where they managed to have invisible fire engines, and the black guy Hugo, the counterpoint to Noah, who was played by Colin Firth. I think his last name is Domingo. He's a good actor, but he plays the good guy and he's the black guy, and he's also a former Wardex employee, but he broke away. They let him leave, I guess. They didn't kill him. I mean,
No, I think he escaped with 12 of his disciples, 12 employees that left with him because he had a spiritual awakening with this entity, one of the surviving Greys, because they can't fly, they keep crashing, and one of them has been kept alive for decades. Yeah. And he was assigned to interface with this thing and develop a special secret bond. Yeah. And it's sort of, it's alluded to that it sort of had control of his decision-making at that point on and was telling him, who do you recruit? Oh, and it was that gray alien that was telling him to recruit that young guy who's the Edward Snowden character because they knew that he had been a child abductee who had a special connection because he was anally probed and given special powers. And he was the one who was then recruited into this agency and assigned to accumulate and then steal the data, which Hugo was then guiding him for. So Hugo's kind of like the John the Baptist kind of character with his own disciples that he took from this secret agency that then rebuilds her family home so that she could revisit the traumatic experience of having had these beings come into her bedroom when she was like 8.
But they don't rebuild. But they don't rebuild his family home. I guess they wouldn't fit on the set.
No,
I mean, this whole script is just
no. But and then you have, what do you have? You have right. He has the appropriate reaction because they both are reawakening their traumatic suppressed memories at the same time by holding hands under Hugo's supervision inside that house. And these are just totally spoilers. I don't care, right? We don't care that we're going to spoil. It's okay. And his reaction is appropriate because she's like seeing herself with these aliens masquerading as Disney creatures coming in, like these animals. And he's like, no, he's properly melting down and freaking out correctly. So and he's like, don't trust them. They're trying to gain your trust as animals. They're not really animals. Don't follow them out of the house. And that's the correct thing to do. You listen, but then Hugo's like, no, they take on the form so that they win our trust. And that's a good thing. And she then remembers how she did follow these beings out, the fox and the moose or whatever, or the whatever it was, the deer, I don't know. And to Hansel and Gretel's house. Now Hansel and Gretel, that is creepy as sin, because that was the Brothers Grimm warning people, families in Bohemia and Germany in the 19th century. The Brothers Grimm are warning in that story of Hansel and Gretel to be aware of the witch covens in the forests that would be seducing your children to kill and eat them with candy and chocolate. That was part of it's a warning story on helping people be aware of the type of evil that lurks in the forests, which is a very real evil then as it is today, of child sacrificing, behavior from witches. So that is the house that she is brought into by these Disney creature aliens to then go and sit down on a laboratory friggin' environment with this other crying poor boy who's, again, correctly flipping out, losing his shit because he's getting abused. And she's the one telling him as a child, don't worry, hold my hand. We're in this together, As these probes start coming down with these spider-like hands of the gray alien who's the good guy. Yeah. That's the only godlike good thing, because it has empathy apparently. Though, because it gifted these kids the gift of superpowers caused by their whatever the hell kind of abuse that they had to suffer in the laboratory of the alien thing. Man, and then I guess they're coming out as this new kind of Adam and Eve superhuman thing implicitly by the very end. Like, they have the superpower. She's like Neo. She can like just do whatever and make the world sort of change according to her will. And he sort of does too in his own way. So they're sort of this Gnostic new Adam and Eve to oversee the saving of the world from World War III. Because the whole time World War III is about to happen. Yeah, and I guess this is now just save the world.
But you only see snippets of it, and it's between America, Russia, North Korea, right? And they completely bystepping anything to do with the Ukraine thing, completely bystepping anything to do with the Middle East, because Steven Spielberg does not want anybody to think that way. And when he's showing, when the release of the files happens in the movie, it's showing them picking up dead aliens. And some experimenting on them, torturing these aliens, and you're supposed and the audience looking at, even the anchor looking at it, going, just being heartbroken. Their empathy button has been poked and everything. But you have to think that that's a fantasy science fiction thing in the movie. But what's going on right now in real life in the Middle East, in Lebanon, in Gaza? Women and children, innocent people being blown apart and killed like that, being scraped into body bags and stuff, flashed across TikTok and Twitter and on social media. You can watch it happening. Where's our empathy now? What is?
Yeah, right. Because you're not supposed to have empathy for humans. You're only supposed to have empathy for animals and for aliens.
But not humans.
No, not once in this movie. Humans are shitty in this movie. The only humans that are good are the humans that are possessed by the aliens. That are kind of like demonically possessed by aliens. Those are the good ones because somehow the aliens gave them empathy. But all of the humans that are not possessed by aliens or the influence of aliens, they're all shithead assholes, Christian usually,
Emily Blunt's boyfriend, who plays the self-obsessed guitar player, doesn't want to work. He just wants to have a good time and stuff like this. And he won't believe her the whole time, and right to the very end turns on her at the end and phones the bad guys and says where she is.
He phones the doctors. Even he's just concerned that your girlfriend's going nuts. He calls the doctors, rightfully so.
Yeah.
Right. And no, you're not. But it feels almost like Richard Dreyfuss's family. You feel so bad. I felt so bad for his wife and his kids, because it starts with him having kind of a functional family household, kind of. He's a working man, and then he starts the telepathic connection starts triggering, and he starts getting these weird obsessions to come to whatever this mountain is, Mount Shasta. I don't even know which mountain it is. And he doesn't care about his family at all. And the whole movie is him just trying to fulfill his destiny to get the hell away from his family. Now he's deadbeat dad, to fulfill his ultimate destiny of getting picked up on this spaceship to go and I guess get experimented on for the next 40 years of his life until he dies. That's like his new purpose in life.
The mountain I think is Devil's Tower, and of course the conspiracy theory that Devil's Tower is actually an ancient tree, right? And it's the trunk of an ancient tree.
Oh, is that the one? Yeah, it looks huge. It kind of does look like a zoomed out version of a big tree chopped down.
Yeah, that's a whole other conspiracy theory that you should take the time. I mean, I know you got a stuff to look at, but there are some people out there that believe that mountains are actually ancient trees, and they're petrified rock.
I have encountered that. I don't believe that that's the best answer for why they have the form that they have there. But the name that I gave it, Devil's Tower, is an interesting name, and I want to look more into the origins of that name. Why devil?
Yeah.
Why did they call it Devil's Tower?
Exactly.
What makes that tree look a devilish thing?
Yeah.
I'm going on Wikipedia right now. The name Devil's Tower originated in 1875 during an expedition led by Colonel Richard Irving Dodge, when his interpreter reportedly misinterpreted a native name to mean Bad God's Tower. And all information signs in that area use the name Devil's Tower, following the geographic names. I would imagine that there's probably a better explanation for that name. That seems
I'm pretty sure Wikipedia will only give you the surface. And
it seems very surfacey.
You have to do a deep dive behind the scenes, really look into it, because that is why they call it Devil's Tower.
And why would Steven Spielberg position that tower, the Devil's Tower, as the focal point of his messianic UFO God story in '78 when he made that thing? That's it. There's more to it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh, I just want to quickly show this. And of course, I noticed this first off. What does the movie trailer give us? The one-eyed imagery, the imagery of the one eye. Right?
With the cardinal. Oh, yeah, right. Yeah. The cardinal bird. I didn't even realize when I first saw that until now that that's actually a cardinal. I didn't look at it long enough to actually have that
and
settle in.
And then there's, of course, Jake Shields notices, if he worked this, Steven Spielberg was a founding member of the Mega Group, which are Jewish billionaires who manipulate society to benefit world Jewry. Now, I'm just going to talk to Jake Shields directly. If you're listening, Jake, quit with the Jew stuff, okay? I mean, we're talking like Jewish billionaires / Zionists / Muslim / Christian. They're all serving the upper part of the pyramid, which uses religion to benefit them, and they're not really committed to any one actual moral belief. And Jeffrey Epstein worked for their organization, and I just want to see that he's quite open about kind of what the reaction to his movie he's hoping for, or what he's positioned to be for.
This truth were just known overnight. If the government announced, yes, we have been keeping this from you since 1947, that would mess up a lot of people. And the movie also takes the position of the church. What does this do to the fundamental beliefs that many of us have? And, is God our God only on this planet, or is God a God for every system where there's civilization, intelligent life, and even developing life? This truth.
Okay, so people also notice, why does he focus on this? Will make a lot of Christians lose their belief. Well, wouldn't make a lot of Jews lose their belief? How about Muslims lose their belief? Hindus lose their belief? Why is it focused on the Christians? Why?
I mean, the guy's just, He's such a gross person. The more you look into Steven Spielberg as a person, who was so proud of his daughter as well when she went into pornography, like she was a porn star, and he was so proud of her. I can only imagine what this poor girl went through that screwed up her wiring to the point that she made those decisions, and the fact that the mega group is key, right? Because that is Charles and Edgar Bronfman were both also founding members with Les Wexner. The guy who was like possessed of a demon, as Whitney Webb has written a whole thing going through his demonic possession that he describes.
And these people don't go to temple every Saturday. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, maybe to the same degree that, Michael Corleone would go to church or something, maybe, but yeah, it's such a pedophilia. I mean, Robert Maxwell was a part of it originally till they offed him, but yeah, I mean, it's the center point of international, or one of the center points. I mean, there's a few different nodes, right? You got the Jimmy Savile node that's probably even higher than these guys, because Savile is catering directly to the royals, the upper echelon families. This guy, they're catering to a different. Well, there's overlap. Clearly, there's overlap, as we found with Prince Andrew. But they've got a variety of these sex trafficking nodes around the world that deal with compromat, that deal with all sorts of black magic shit too, that gets into the occult, that gets into Marina Abramovich stuff, where she's brought in to help train different initiates in spirit cooking and other forms of occult practices behind the scenes, who are brought into the after parties and are part of the special clubs within these things. So yes, the fact that Steven Spielberg has been there since the 90s, when it was set up at the founding days. And when you go back to, like you said, Amblin Entertainment, the Amblin movie that I didn't even know about until this entire conversation began, all of his movies are they are imbued, except for maybe a couple. They all have Gnostic, transhumanist, UFO, manipulative agendas infused into the storylines.
Traumatic mind control being done to children. Remember the
Poltergeist.
In Poltergeist.
He wrote and directed Poltergeist. Yeah, yes. That's the total one where this poor kid, is interfacing with a demon on the screen. Sound familiar? And is getting like pulled into this other dimension, and her family's rightfully freaking out.
And then the actress who played, and then there was an actress, Heather Rourke, who's played in one of his movies, that died of a perforated bowel.
No, I didn't know that. No,
you didn't know about Heather Rourke?
Oh, no, I didn't know about that.
I had that teed up. I thought you'd already know that.
No, which movie did she play in?
I'm finding it right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she died when she was younger.
Yes, a few months after the movie was over.
Oh no.
And but if you go to Wikipedia, the family says it has nothing to do with it, and she died of a perforated bowel because of Crohn's disease.
Oh no.
Okay, here we go. Start screen share. This is it right here. Okay. This is Heather O'Rourke. The director of Poltergeist, Steven Spielberg, approached her and her mother in a shopping mall as he was mesmerized by her beauty and wanted her to appear in the film. She was 6 years old at the time. So she delivered the iconic line there. Here, Spielberg was said to be very possessive and protective of her on the set, spending significant time with her outside of filming as well. She died of major ruptures to her intestines that some have speculated were caused by being blanked on a regular basis by adults.
Oh no, that's the girl. Yeah. Oh Jesus.
Yeah. So,
dude. Okay. Well, that's really sick. Yeah. There's. Yeah. I mean, and if you
I know Kurt Metzger has talked about this before too, and but I'll quickly go to Wikipedia. If you can go to yourself, go to Wikipedia, put in Heather Rourke, and they say she did die of a perforated bowel, but it was because of Crohn's disease. But she was very young, 8 years old at the time. That's pretty young to die of Crohn's disease, isn't it? You know?
Yeah, no, it is. And the timing.
She was good enough to do that. She was good enough to do the film, but that Spielberg saw her, approached her, was mesmerized by her beauty, and she's only 6 years old, and convinces her mother to let him have control of her daughter for a while. I mean, it's just so bizarre. But I do suggest you do watch the Amblin. I watched it. Mm-hmm. At the start of it, you're kind of going, so okay, this is Spielberg's first film, and he's just going to be some artsy fartsy thing, and then when it gets to the part where they go to the beach and he goes splashing fully clothed and she looks through his bag, you can almost tell there's something. This is like he's what's the word I'm looking for? He's auditioning not for a part in a movie. He's auditioning for a part in the system. Look what I can get away with through imagery in my films, sir. Will you fund me? And after that, he wins art. Right after that, big money's behind him, and he's making big films right away.
Yeah, right.
That milk of magnesia moment, it's like, because when I was reading about the pedophilia stuff, when Ben Swan first broke it, when I first started paying attention at the NAMBL, the North American Man Boy Love Association, all this stuff, I never even knew all this stuff existed. I was horrified going down doing that rabbit hole. But milk of magnesia is a big thing with these people because they feed it to the kids, so they poop everything out, whatever, and then they can be more easily. I don't even want to think about it.
I didn't even think of that. I didn't even that's
and that was in his suitcase in this movie, Ambledon, and then after that,
and is he clearly like an older man and she's a younger girl? This couple,
kids.
or
they're both young kids,
they're both young
kids, teenagers.
Okay,
just after being.
That's an interesting idea that it's a submission to be allowed into the club. That's an interesting concept and probably very. Do we know what ambling even means? The word.
Ambling is walking in a leisurely, casual fashion. I'm ambling down the lane.
Oh yeah, okay.
He was ambling. Kid who's he's hitchhiking, whatever, grabs a VW bus or whatever, and he's driving. He's ambling. He's carefree summer right after he's got out of school, or carefree summer after he's got away from his handler, and he's out there alone for a couple months, and he meets a girl, thinks he can have an actual normal relationship with the girl, but it turns out that it'll never happen because that girl looks into his suitcase and finds out his secrets and then leaves.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking too, like the other story that he wanted to put on the big screen was Peter Pan, right? Like his rendition of Hook. Peter Pan is clearly a story of the Lost Boys, of child abduction.
Yes.
Where these children are being, I mean, Peter Pan as an archetypical character is sort of based upon the idea of Pan the goat, and Pan the what is it, the guy with the flute, what is it that would seduce the children to leave
the Pied Piper.
The Pied Piper, who's also a Pan-like character based on the flute, the charming, seductive, hypnotic flute that will then bring the kids off into the forest where they'll never be seen from again. And these stories these archetypes are woven into the themes and the stories that we saw with Peter Pan and the Lost Boys.
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Remember the child stealer and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang?
Oh, damn. Yeah.
Everywhere.
That was creepy. People should go to YouTube and just type child or pedophile Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. That'll be enough. Child stealer, sure. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
He was called the child snatcher in the show.
Yes. Seducing kids. How? With the ice cream.
Yeah,
right, with the sweets, and
just like how they got them to take the vaccine too.
Just that, yeah, exactly. Get a jab, get an ice cream cone, and that was what's Dahl, right? What's his name?
Roald Dahl.
Roald Dahl, and Roald Dahl, who also did the
Elmer and the Blue Cheese or whatever.
I was thinking Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory,
he did
which
that.
Johnny Depp, the Satanist, directly chose to play a role in that one, more recently in the updated version of it, at least. But that's also like all full of seducing kids with candy, who are then brought into this guy's, like, this guy is like this wealthy billionaire kind of magnate who's super secretive.
And the Adventures of Lemony Snicket.
Oh, I did see the shows. I did see the first season of the shows. I never read the books, but I don't even remember now.
The Lemony Snicket's another one where the children lose their parents. They're sent off to a creepy old uncle,
right?
And they're treated horribly by the creepy old uncle, who's always trying to take over the world in some weird ways and treating them badly, but they always manage to outsmart him in the end, sort of thing. It's very interesting when you go down that path, that this cultural trauma. Every generation gets culturally traumatized again with stories of your kids being taken away and experimented on and stuff like that. But the thing is, it's a way to weave it into this sort of normal. So when you find about these things in real life that do go on, right, you're going, oh, well, that's part of life. in the end, giving up the, look what, I mean, the Epstein files released. Children of it are being mutilated and killed and horribly, and they're eaten, and blood sacrifices. We're talking about adrenochrome, all that stuff. And where's all the outrage?
I know. This is the sort of thing. You're right. There's a certain normalization in the psyche, and people start thinking of this real stuff as if it's just fiction. They can't even imagine that this is. They're like, oh, you're mixing up reality and fiction. And it's like, no, you are. This is real, because you've only been drinking down bad fiction like junk food, cluttering your ability to actually think about what is evil and how does it influence your lives. And I was thinking a little bit as you were talking about the movie again of Disclosure Day, and the song that the girl is singing. I Googled it. Like, what's the song that the 8-year-old girl who's about to get abducted by the Disney creatures, what's she singing? She's singing the Disney song from Snow White. Will my Prince Charming find me, or something like that. You look at the story of Snow White, it's all full of cannibalization and necrophilia, at least the original story, which it's more of a synthesis of a few already existent folktales, but the one that the Brothers Grimm were utilizing. And again, the Brothers Grimm actually seem to be carrying out like real warnings, cautionary tales to educate people about the real nature of evil in Germany. But the story of the mother, it's not like the stepmother character who's looking in the mirror saying like who's the most fairest one of all. It's actually her mother, and her mother, when in the story, the original story, tells the huntsman or whoever to go and kill Snow White. She doesn't say just kill him. She tells him to bring back her liver and her, I forget which other organs. There's several organs specifically that she wants: her heart, her liver, her spleen, something else, to eat them, because she wants to eat them with this idea that the vital force is located in these particular organs, as all Crowleyite occultists do in their esoteric inner belief structure. They all believe that idea, that of whether it's the vampire groupings, the werewolf cult initiates, they all have this idea of eating, cannibalizing your victim to imbibe yourself with the vital spirits of their life essence, which also I think is behind a lot of the cannibal cults that have maintained themselves more like authentic traditional ways. But I think at the end of the day, you'll find often, whether it's in Africa or whether it's in some of the practices even in the Americas, Jesuit hands that have been inflaming these artificial practices and encouraging that from behind the scenes, making it appear as though these are just authentic, core religious movements or instincts that humans and shamans have come up with. But it's not. These are not natural things. There's evidence that there's always artificial engineers and Jesuits who infiltrate different tribes and then start controlling and giving them, the tribes, the traditions, the sacred stories, the practices that they will help them tap into these invisible spirits in more perfect ways.
Well, that was what the medieval tribute. That's what the medieval troubadours were doing when they were going across medieval Europe, was bringing along these stories wherever they went.
Got it, man. No, they were modern shamans, or they were medieval shamans. That's exactly it. That's correct. That's very few people have realized that, RB. That's very true.
How do you think all those stories got once the Roman Empire went in and did their thing, whatever, and then when they retreated, the Jesuits trained all these medieval troubadours to go across and reinforce these old ideas. And
the troubadours were the chivalric Gnostic sects that created these chivalric orders, were set up by the core troubadours, like in the south of France. This is where a lot of them were Frankish in origin, but also had an interface with the Cistercian and Benedictine orders that were themselves sort of synthetic. In my analysis, the Benedictine order and its radical Cistercian wings were themselves occult agencies masquerading as Christian in the early 6th century. And you'll always find that the lead social engineers or religious engineers, like Bernard de Clairvaux, or what's his name, the guy who creates the hospitality, because Bernard de Clairvaux is like the guy who's largely setting up the Templars. And then you got this guy,
I'll find it,
Bernard of Sasso. Bernard of Sasso is the founder of the Order of Hospitallers, the sister order, sort of the nominal rival order of the Knights Templar. But they're all part of a troubadour clique And the troubadours are the ones endowed, they're granted the right to carry the artistic traditions and the Eleusinian mystery stories, the mystery plays of the Eleusinian mysteries that were part of the initiatory experience of the ancient times pre-Christian. That those mystery plays were very important to as part of the process of cleansing your recruit in a sort of a, it's kind of like a romantic, sacred, like a massively amplified ego where the young recruit believes that they're somehow endowed by a higher plan for just themselves to be the hero of some drama, to go on quests. That each quest will test them in different ways. And if they pass and don't die, because some will die, but those who don't die after you've gotten the tap on your shoulder and you've drank the Kool-Aid and you're now on the path, you're being guided by these stories you've been fed in these mystery plays that create the story of the guardian at the threshold that you'll have to battle at some point. You know, you'll have to knock at a door and be tested with your shadow self, and you'll have to either battle it or be killed by it, you know, and that means either absorbing your shadow into yourself and internalizing the evil that you have to sort of learn how to incarnate as an idea of your shadow self that you have to fight, or be eaten up and die by it, or whatever the case may be. But that's what the troubadours were largely masquerading with their Grail myths, because they were the ones performing the different Grail romances, the Grail mystery plays, and other things were being, and the mythical stories of the Knights of King Arthur and the Round Table and all of these things were recruitment tools to get idiots to become knights that would then be disposable mercenaries to be used in the Crusades, which is what these chivalric orders were always about, was maintaining a bloodbath of ritual sacred murder between civilizations as long as possible, ideally forever, under feudalism, which they also brought in. So the same Frankish, Norman, Viking, like assholes that created and became the army of these crusaders, they were the ones who brought in feudalism into France, and then brought it into England, and then brought it into Italy, in southern Italy, where they also took control. That became the hub of the Crusades. And that's so it's always the same thing: feudalism, sacred violence. That's what Pete Hegseth is talking about with his whole idea of a new crusader ethic, like a new crusade to revive the moral ethos of the warrior spirit of the manliness that gives.
If you die committing atrocities for God, you go straight to heaven anyway. Because
get out of jail free. Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to screen share this now. Let's talk about this. Okay, do you know that Steven Spielberg's family are longtime members of the Jewish cult Chabad Lubavitch?
Yeah. His mother was asking the Schneerson guy for blessings, and that's right.
I'm going to play it. This is Spielberg's mother asking for a blessing from Rabbi Schneerson.
Oh, you got it right there. Oh, that's
yeah. Jewish Messiah.
Yeah.
I'm Leah Adler from California. I own the Milky Way restaurant with my dear husband. And I would like to have brachas for all my children and grandchildren and my husband.
You have the name marked?
Yes, I'm Steven Spielberg's mother also. Steven Spielberg, the famous film director, is my son.
Oh, she's made sure she drops that in there?
Your son?
Yes.
You have his name also here?
Yes. And it's all here.
Yeah.
He probably doesn't even know who Steven Spielberg is. Your son, do you have his name here also?
Have a good news always. And to go from strength to strength in private affairs, and strength for strength to strength about spreading Yiddishkeit in good mood with much success. And have a kosher Trivach and Pesach.
I just came back from Los Angeles. I have a script that I wrote that Hollywood is going to make into a feature film about a Jewish people. I told them that would be nice, but we could not film on the Sabbath, and they seemed to think that wouldn't be a problem. A little bracha, because this is unbelievable.
Yeah, then you had a big bracha, not a little bracha.
Thank you, Rabbi.
God Almighty bless you. That's a double portion.
Thank you, sir. God bless you.
This is Mr. Ginsberg. He's in the motion picture industry.
God Almighty bless you to be successful and to make the Jewish pictures in a good
way.
I will.
Yeah,
I
and God
promise.
Almighty bless you.
Thank you.
To be successful.
You write scripts for movies.
A lot of script writers asking for blessings from Rabbi Schnitzler.
Thank you very much.
That was because God belongs to you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
This is my daughter. She studies Torah with Shlomo Schwartz. And Olivia. I write for the movies.
I write for the movies. The movies, yes. You can write it in a modest way.
In the way of
way of chastity.
Not to
destroy something, but to build it up.
Not to destroy something, but to build up. And to an addition in all Jewishness of all you people that are being influenced by you.
That are being influenced by you. Influencers, Matt.
Yes.
Blessing all the influencers that are throughout Western culture writing about, when you write your movies, you got to display Jewishness in a good way. You can never, you got to, influence people's minds on how they actually think about the Jewish people. And that's been going on in Hollywood for a long time. And that's that Chabad Lubavitch cult. And look how many of those script writers and movie writers and stuff are there asking for blessings from this rabbi. It's really weird, man. I didn't think they had that much control.
Creepy. It is creepy. Yeah, it is super creepy.
I
mean, that's not a new thing, right? I mean, they positioned these particular controllers of Hollywood back in the 1920s. They were already being positioned to influence a lot of the cultural stories, the things that would shape the zeitgeist of Americans and the Western world more broadly were already being positioned. And it creates like an unfortunate, this is what we're doing. I just released this film with my wife, Black Sun Rising. I don't know. Did you get a chance to watch Black Sun Rising?
Let me sec.
I'll send it to you.
Okay.
I'll send you the film later. We don't have to go into detail.
I just want to make sure because I watched. You made this, right?
Yeah. We just released it last Saturday.
I'm running out of I just finished watching your UFO series.
Oh, okay. This is kind of like an unofficial episode 5. So I've done the 4 episodes.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. So this is the unofficial episode 5, and it's called Black Sun Rising. And I needed to tell this story because the next episode of the UFO series is going to deal with the origins and influence of the UFO cults, right? Not just Scientology, though that's a very big one, that they want to make a lot of these fringe UFO cults become the new mainstream dominant religions in the very short-term future. Like post something that is supposed to happen to us in the next 10 years in a big way. And then coming out of this terrorized state of shock, a more malleable population is expected to think that the Raelians, the Scientologists, the Falun Gong, the Chinese Scientologists who have their own master, Li Hongji, who's this intergalactic messiah. All of these things are supposed to become, according to the script, the dominant religions to replace outdated Christianity and Islam and Judaism and all of those things. But so in my research for the Black Sun Rising, the black magicians at the top, who often have utilized like the Theosophical Society as one of their conduits to organize big moves, whether it's the emergence of fascism as a political ideology or whether it's even a big aspect of the Bolsheviks. I won't say all of it, but a big aspect of the Bolsheviks was also being influenced by this thing. So they play the left and the right game quite a bit, as they always have. But one of the things that they create certain institutions and certain frauds that are limited hangouts, like the Protocols of Zion, which is, again, there's a chapter in my movie called The Protocols of Zion as a Theosophical Hoax, which demonstrates that even though the protocols that came out of, they originated in Russia in like 1899 by a bunch of very high-level satanic Freemasons around Alexander. It's guy who's known as Pappas. He's a Martinist Freemason, a Theosophist, a Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn member with Aleister Crowley, and he was an advisor to Nicholas II. So he was the one who was overseeing with members of the Okhrana, the Russian secret police, especially the French branch of it, the the creation of the protocols. Now, the protocols have a lot of truth in them. They reveal a lot of truthful things about how secret societies organize humanity and why they do it. But then they infused, and it's proven, this is totally proven, that it was a complete hoax, that they infused then the Jewish scapegoat as the core organizing force from above, making it all happen to create this Zion-centric world religion and world state. There's a fraud. There's a duplicity in all of this. And so they've been using their they will reward a number of Jews that are high level, kind of like golems. This is how I see them. These core Jewish families, these what they call Hofjuden families, whether it's the Rothschilds, whether it's the Sassoons, whether it's more recently the Bronfmans, as family units, they have certain golem-like complexes which give them rewards for being servants. The Soroses are a more recent one, but there's a variety. There's a limited, but a numerous variety of these, right? That are granted limited dynastic powers or privileges, but they have to remain servants and organize themselves around certain Kabbalistic lines of sort of Frankish-Sabbatian doctrine. And that's their sort of organizing ethos internally that makes them useful, predictable, but ultimately disposable at the end of the day. So they will prop them up and use them in political intelligence and organized crime networks and the Bronfman, Marylansky operations, that emerged out of the Prohibition period, that then were infused into gaining control over the levers of culture and especially movie making, then creates a nasty filth of organized corruption that creates disgust, rightfully so, by people who can then more readily be organized in a counter-revolutionary fashion to these guys, which is where you get the William Dudley Pedleys. William Dudley Pele from the American Nazi silver shirt movement. He was a scriptwriter for Hollywood, as were many of his followers. They were scriptwriters of the 20s, and they were disgusted by the immorality of the Jewish handlers managing the executives, like the executives of MGM and these film studios, that they then went total opposite extreme and became the American Nazi movements that then went on to also become channelers of entities from the beyond, because William Dudley Pedley is also a clairvoyant or clairaudient, getting messages from the ascended masters that is giving him the conviction that he is a new prophet to organize an army of white hats that are essentially Nazi fascists to overthrow the existing order of Jews, the Jew-ridden banking order, and institute a more healthy golden age. But the guy's a fucking Nazi, and he's overall, when he gets out of jail after World War II is done, he goes and creates some of the first UFO cults, like the William Deadly cult. He creates this cult of the star, I forget, the Star Seeds, or I forgot the name of it. But he has this whole movement, and he's a cult leader, and he's influencing George Adamski, who's also formerly the head of the Royal Tibetan Theosophical Lodge of California, also channeling messages, becomes also a guy influenced by William Dudley Pele after World War II, and is putting out hoaxes about, Venusian, Aryan, blonde, blue-eyed, alien super beings that are choosing him to create a new dispensation for humanity. And all of these guys create the foundations of the thing that becomes the organizing movement of what Steven Spielberg is recruited into. A few decades later, what Jalen Hynek is a part of, with as early as the Roswell incident is induced, which is a complete hoax from the 1947 July earliest date when the anomalous material did come crashing down in Roswell.
Okay, I want to quickly visit that. Yeah. I've always wondered about this. Why did they put out that the first news story that comes out about that is they recover flying saucer. They say it openly in the newspaper, right? It's the first story out.
Well, the first recorded elements of what is recorded in official files is like a number of foil. I forget what's.
I'm talking about the news release.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So there does seem to be who's controlling the media, because Jesse Marcel is a proven liar. Like his whole story, and I get at that in episode 4 of the Hidden Hand Behind UFO series. Everything he has put out as a public image for himself and where he comes from, the degrees he has, the experience in the war he has, all of the stuff. When diggers had gone looking into like whether or not he was telling the truth, he's lying about everything. So the guy is a chronic liar.
Right.
He does seem to be part of a big joke. Whatever recruited into, because he was part of it. He wasn't just a regular soldier. He was part of, I think it was Air Force intelligence. So he was part. So he's already being brought into something that had been growing as part of this deep state complex, taking over the United States since the 1920s. Really,
and Kenneth Arnold was part of it too.
Oh yeah, it seems like I think Kenneth Arnold, and I got to review some of my notes because I was looking into his story a while ago, but I think he might have been there might have been some blackmail. Chrisman seems to be much more self-aware and complicit.
Well, how about the whole thing about the Foo Fighters thing? What do you think that Foo Fighters thing was?
There does seem to be technology that involves tracking devices that ionize and track planes using heat signatures that will create an ionization as they move through the atmosphere, which will give off a glow. And that was something that it seems the Nazis were developing some of this technology for tracking devices that were absorbed later on, as were the Nazi UFOs that were being developed with Italian UFOs.
The Bell, remember the Bell, and that's been affirmed that they were working on things like
the Nazis were working on all sorts of alternative aeronautical technologies that involved.
They did a flying saucer, and they even tested a flying saucer.
People can go to YouTube and just type out Avro Aero flying saucer for a 1954 design of a flying saucer that they were actually testing out. The one that you'll see on YouTube wasn't flying very high. It was more of a hovering thing, but you'll just see that these were being tested out. Yeah. And what they allow publicly is only a fraction of what they actually have in their secret.
Right. So people see these things, they can't understand them. They go to the government. The government says, "Oh, it's swamp gas." So that's how conspiracies get built. Then they guide the conspiracy as a way into this new religion. I want to quickly say thank you to Dostoevsky because he gave me $5 super chat, a Rumble rant. Cool. I don't get very many Rumble rants, so thank you for the $5. There is unrest in the forest, he said.
There is unrest in the forest. Yes.
Okay, so we're going to get into the New World religion. So you put up this series. You guys got to go watch this series on your UFO series as a kind of like a back door into getting people into a New World religion. Mm-hmm. And it makes a lot of sense when you take Operation Bluebeam was supposedly Project Bluebeam, right? You maybe talk about that too. This has been in the zeitgeist for a while. How much of it is real? Do you think it would work? Can you get people to start believing in a new religion when they won't even believe in their own?
Well, they need human beings. This is one of the X factors of the human condition, is that we all have a yearning of the transcendental. That's part of what the oligarchy understands to be true. So the materialism that they promote is only a cover to stifle what they know is an unstifleable yearning for the transcendental, that we're limited, we're mortal, we're born, we die, there's a certain amount of space, that we can move in the time we're allotted. But there's a part of us that is immortal, right? That we have a divine spark within us. Now, in a healthy society, you would cultivate that. You would encourage that divine spark to grow so the heart and the mind can develop into maturity. And, Plato's dialogues are all exercises in helping the thinker, the student in his academy or in anybody's academy, come to realize and discover on their own terms why it's better to be good than to be not good, why it's better to be just than not just, because we have a soul, because there's something immortal within us that yearns for and that can discover the eternal outside of us that are part of the laws of God's creation. And that's a beautifully good thing. The oligarchy, what they will do is they want to fill it with fake gods. So they will they will try to satisfy that yearning by giving it to us in the form of either secular gods, which are ultimately not that satisfying, like a Darwin, or a whatever fake science they could call real science and have us just say, oh, that explains everything. We don't need God or metaphysics. That's still actually just a God. That's actually just a different form of God without calling it God. You're just too cowardly to call it God. Or inversely, what they prefer is to get a more sacred superstition so that the gods that we worship are controlled gods that the oligarchy can control the levers to and that have no morality associated with them, that are purely amoral gods or immoral gods that demand human sacrifice to be happy, right? Or to end the
drought.
The drought, right? So they like the idea of of restoring and normalizing human sacrifice, especially of children, but of all ages, frankly. Just as long as it's a human thing, that we can reduce the idea that there's anything particularly sacred about humans. They want to eliminate that and prop up the idea that, this is why I think part of the reason I'm not against vegetarians, if you're doing it for the right reason, but I think that Hitler's vegetarianism had a lot to do with that he ultimately had this idea that human beings are worse than animals. So it would be hypocritical for us to eat animals because they're so much more pure and sacred than these humans. So why would he eat animals in that sense? And that's where, unfortunately, a lot of the vegetarianism promoted by the theosophical cults tends to have a misanthropic, human-hating element to it that over amplifies the sacredness of nature to be better than humans, and that's part of the formula of inversion. So I'm thinking what they're doing now with the UFO thing is this also plays into what else happened in 1946 and 47, right? Because in 46 and 47, you didn't just get the Kenneth Arnold sightings, you didn't just get the Roswell story beginning. Not coincidentally, the moment that World War II ended and a bunch of Nazis were repurposed and given new assignments to run the world. Not disconnected from that, you had at the same time the Nag Hammadi findings in Egypt, right? And that those findings of the Gnostic scriptures in 1946, and then later on the Dead Sea Scrolls found in 1947. I don't think that's disconnected from the UFO project that both had at their core, and I get through this in the movie, Carl Jung, who was a leading figure, not just in the OSS, as he was an advisor to Alan Dulles.
Okay, right about here, I want to say, if anybody wants to send this next segment to Jimmy Dore, please do. Right now, he's really into Jung. He's doing he's doing Saturday night readings of Jung's works. Oh, he's a true Jungian. He's encountered his dark self. He understands, and he accepts it. The whole thing, where the dark shadow.
Yeah,
accept it. I don't understand your dark shadow. Accept it, and then you can move on with life. It's a way to redirect the anger and stuff. He's really into the synchronicity idea and the anti-Freud, because I don't like Freudian psychology either. I can see the flaws in that and all the cultural damage it does. So of course Jung would be a nice if you're gonna need a psychiatric guru to follow. I guess Jung would be better than Freud, but Jung does have his problems now. Go on and a lot of people don't realize that Jung was in intelligence before he became a psychiatrist, correct? Or was he?
Yeah, he was working at the OSS, but before that, and he was advising Dulles the entire time. Dulles, who continued to utilize Jung as his advisor after World War II was finished, when he was setting up the CIA, even commissioned Dulles to write a book called Flying Saucers, A Modern Myth of Things Seen in the Sky in the 1950s. Which
I really got to get my hands on that book. That looks fascinating.
Yeah, it's really useful. It's a useful book.
That's a work that Jung wrote himself, right?
Yeah, Jung wrote this book, and it basically provides a guidebook for myth makers on how to control the archetypical ideas that are being expressed in the symbolism of the circle, of the flying saucer, and other things, and the type of methods that could be used to steer religious engineering around, or a new set of gospels, a new set of legends around these beings from the skies. And he even innovates. He's among the earliest who's innovating the ancient astronaut scenarios that later on Daniken and others are picking up. People like George Hunt Williamson, who's a follower of William W.
Daniken's books here. I also have the complete Zechariah Sitchin trilogy. I went.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
He's got like 13 books. I think I got them all except one.
Oh man, yeah, you're down the rabbit hole.
I was really into it. I believed in the 10th planet, Planet X, all that stuff. It was coming from Planet Nibiru every 3,600 years, and they mined our planet in the atmosphere for the gold to keep it. it's fascinating, and it's a great.
I mean, there's a lot of space. It's a very creative space. They created a maximum space for the mind to create drama and stories.
What Gene Roddenberry did with it.
Yeah, which he channeled from the Nine. You heard about the Nine? So, and the Andrea Puharich channelers that were all being sponsored by the DuPonts and the Ford family, who were part of the original Nine initiates.
Arthur C. Clarke, the ultimate denizen of them all, because he's working hand in fist with NASA throughout the 50s and 60s, that space program. He was right there, and everything that all those people did at the same time, they were creating a mythos, and that's what your series is about. And it makes sense.
I'm gonna have a whole episode just on the sci-fi myth makers who are vetted, because you have to be vetted to be permitted to have your ideas influence the collective dream, because it's shamanic. That's really what it is, and that's what Carl Jung he saw himself as a shaman, as a even a prophet. There's some letters where he's writing, describing himself as he sees himself as a new prophet of a new age, a new dispensation. And he calls for literally transforming Christianity, overthrowing conventional Christianity that he sees as something which is withholding our latent. Even he alludes to psychic powers, and he has this book called I'm reading this right now, Psychology and the Occult by Carl Jung. And this is written, most of this work was in the 1890s, but it continued up into the 1920s, actually 1950s. So it's accumulation of all of his work on the occult and psychology, and within it, there's disturbing stuff where he sees the autists, he sees the schizophrenics. There's a different word for it back then that he's writing, as being the gifted people, that especially children who are schizophrenic, who have been through who are hysterics, have access to powers that are lacking in the normal people who are stuck in the conventions of Christian normalcy. So he actually sees that as a bad thing to heal us by overthrowing conventional Christianity. And there's letters I quote from episode 3 of Carl Jung writing to Freud right before he makes his split, describing the need to restore Jesus to the soothsaying God of the vine, the Dionysian God that he perceives the true Christ to be, not the Christ of the Gospels, but the Dionysian God of the vine, of the orgy, and the sacred, with the sacredness, as he says, of the animal. So that's, I think, something which is behind his decision to play the key role in the Eranos conferences that he creates with the leading theosophist of Switzerland, Frobe, forgot her full name, but he and this theosophist at Ascona, Monteverita, which is sort of this Bohemian Grove control center in Switzerland. It's actually the ancient center of black mass, if you want to know. That's what Alice Bailey understood it to be.
Switzerland sure is a special place. They don't even have to get invaded during war. They get to be neutral. I wonder how that works.
Fun.
Hold all the gold for everybody.
Yeah.
Look the other way.
There's a reason why that was like Alan Dulles' base of operations, right, in Bern, Switzerland. And I'm sure that was
the basis of operations for the German secret police. And Dulles, I forget his name, it wasn't Rydiard Hedberg. That was the first one. But the guy behind the scenes who eventually ended up running NASA. He ended up running what was it called again? Eventually, it was a German secret police division that eventually became Interpol. And he was the head of Interpol. And he was working with Dulles in Switzerland in 1943, 44, 45, planning for the inevitable end of the war. Whoever won, there was a plan in place for both sides. And they established the rat lines to Argentina. They established the gold that they could keep for themselves and invest in South American businesses together. It was bizarre. I mean, they were talking about, they were supposed to be at war with each other, but the heads of the secret police of both the Allies and the Nazis were meeting together throughout, having cocktails.
Yeah, it's quite something. It's kind of a sick joke, the whole Swiss thing, eh?
Yeah.
But so Jung, I think when he was overseeing and devoting his resources to the translations and popularizations of the Nag Hammadi scriptures, which in my mind, based on my reading of the story, the official story of how they were discovered, or the Dead Sea Scrolls soon thereafter, it all seems...
You don't think it's organic. You don't think a Bedouin kid just wandered into a cave, somehow found these things, decided to go grab one he thought it might be of value, and go sell it off in a bazaar, the closest town, and whoever happened to get that happened to know a priest who might want to look at these things, and the whole thing seemed inorganic to me.
And there's another story too of like a guy named Muhammad who's like running from the law or something, or running from some other tribe that hates him and gets like cannibalized and his heart is eaten, is one of the apocryphal stories affiliated with how they were discovered and how these are how the Nag Hammadis were discovered. And then the other one you had is this Bedouin kid throwing rocks in caves, and then here's a crash of clay jars, and it's like, oh, earth-shaking discoveries that will change the foundations of all religion.
Tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people had crossed that path before. It was a common road that he was on, and he was the first one that noticed that this cave was open. He's the first one.
Like after friggin' 1,600 years, nobody thought to go into the cave after all of that time. Really?
He didn't have to dig for anything. It was just there.
Yeah. So for my mind, that was a collective initiation of a generation. So what they did after World War II is we need to not keep these simply for the select initiates to discover, or to have set up for them to be discovered when they finish their quests in their initiatory thing. Now we have to have a coming out party so that everybody can be co-initiated into
everything happens around 1947. The CIA is invented. Interpol becomes online. At the same time, the Roswell, the same time the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered. 1947 is the same time.
And as I said, Carl Jung's work, his foundation is uniquely responsible for translating, publishing, disseminating all of the Nag Hammadi, the Gnostic Gospels, to try to shake the foundations of the conventional Christianity. At the same time that you have the transhumanist Jesuit infiltration of the church beginning really heavily with the followers of Pietel de Chaldin. There was already there was a battle within the church as well over trying to keep the Jesuits out from taking control. At different times, the Jesuits were banned, popes were killed, many popes were killed who were trying to rein in the Jesuits. There's a reason why. And, and they always create this dialectic of the Order of Malta on the one hand being sort of the right wing, kind of in the case of the Vatican control grid, you have a tendency for the Opus Dei faction that filled the right-wing void that the Jesuits used to occupy within.
President is, but just as a quick aside, just so people understand the depth of this, President Assad of Syria was a Knight of Malta.
Well, but I think they actually disowned him for that at a certain point when he became disposable.
I think maybe at some time they disavowed him when it became they had to flip the script to make him into a heel, right?
Yeah, well, I think part of it is they want to put their seal of ownership on everybody. So part of the thing too is they will, just because, and I don't know Assad, maybe he was in on it. I don't think he was, but one of the things that they always want to do is they want to just put the shackle on you, put the thing, say, as a sign saying, look, by the way, you're ours. Don't think about getting too many of your own thoughts. And they hope that people won't go off reservation.
And that's what happened to him. He decided to go his own way, and so they disowned him. Whatever. He's now safe in Russia, I guess. Nobody's heard from him or his wife.
I don't know. Yeah,
what's going on there? Meanwhile, the Russian Air Force supposedly still has operating bases in Syria. You know that, right? So the new president, the Al Qaeda head chopper, the new president of Syria, has come out and said, the Russian military bases are staying. He's not putting up too much of a fuss about Israel but taking over a third of his country. He's allowing the Americans to stay in another third of his country to extract the oil. He's a very compliant head chopper, that one.
Yeah, he is. It really is quite something. And also the French Grand Orient was reconstituted in Syria as soon as Assad was out. They brought back, because I think it was his father who kicked them out, and they were brought back in, had a big celebration because they're back in play. But yeah, I mean, the ghouls have been really released, and there's a degree of complexity to this game that's bigger than more people are willing to imagine, and that's troubling. That so many people are not willing to properly appreciate the sophistication of the enemy, and thus fall much more easily prey into the games and the traps that are being set for us by said enemy. And it has, it operates as games within games. There is ultimately weak spots. There's insecurities that this oligarchy has. There's things that they are afraid of. But we're not going to understand any of that, let alone be able to even begin to act upon those strategies that would scare the oligarchy if we can't even get onto that level of appreciation for what it is. And I don't think, like, Russia right now seems to not be in as good of a place. I think China's in a better place, but even they're not even like in a great place as far as battling this infiltration and this supranational entity. They've had to make a lot of compromises. They're being threatened like left and right. And I think that especially the Russians, I think that there's a big movement right now to get them to compromise on some really bad ideas about how to rework the world order and create sort of a new Yalta kind of division of jurisdictions or of regional spheres of influence.
No, we call it the relentless onslaught of the New World Order, and it's not taking any breaks. But I want to quickly end. We're gonna divert from this, but it's not quick much of a diversion because what we were talking about is extraterrestrials, right?
Yeah.
Ever thought of what the word extraterrestrial means, Matt?
Beyond Earth.
Beyond Earth or extra? It's extra Earth. Do you understand? Extraterrestrial, extra Earth. It's already here. We can already access it. Richard Byrd gave the game away in a rare interview he gave to Longines. This is Richard E. Byrd, Admiral Byrd, discussing the land beyond the pole in a rare interview. The Earth is hollow. No, I don't believe that the Earth is hollow. Okay, but he's talking about something else that you might want to think about.
Admiral Byrd, you've been to both the North Pole and the South Pole. Is there any unexplored land left on this Earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans?
Yes, there is. And not up around the North Pole because it's getting crowded up there now because they find out it's really usable, not only to live in, but militarily. But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole on the other side of the South Pole from Middle America. And I think it's quite astonishing that there should be an area as big as that unexplored.
That's a tremendous
So
challenge.
there's a lot of adventure left down at the bottom of the world.
Admiral, do you hope to see that?
I do.
So what does that make? Oh.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but you went off the screen.
It's weird. It says this happened last time too. I'm going to try my other screen. Hold on.
That's
weird. I'm using my computer screen right now, my computer camera, and that's not on. What the fuck? That's weird, dude. This happened last time we did a show together, and something very similar happened.
Why don't you go back out? Oh, there you're back.
Am I back? You see me? I don't see me.
I can see you now, but you're frozen.
Well, okay, better than I don't think anybody else can see me though, because I still see a black screen.
Let me see. Can you guys? Hey, tinfoil-hat lady, anybody out there? How about you, Calvin Abbott or Tickle to Death or Dostoevsky? Can you see Matt on the screen? I see him. He's frozen.
Am I doing something stupid? Am I like blinking at least? Okay, here I'll leave and come back.
Yeah. Sorry, guys, for that temporary snafu, but he should be back shortly. He's in Quebec. They get their power from that hydro station, and every once in a while something funny happens. There's always he says his house blinks on and off, and I found that out with Salim Mansour in Ontario. Same thing happens with him. He's on hydro power and he blinks on and off. But you're back now, Matt.
There we are.
You went to the other camera, right?
I did, yeah.
All right.
So that's interesting, dude. Yeah, that's fascinating.
So you think about extraterrestrial land beyond the pole, the same size as the United States of America. So I'm going to now.
It's true, right? Like there's so much opacity around the South Pole. And
the other thing is they have the Antarctic Treaty. Ever thought of the Antarctic Treaty? Nobody goes down there and exploits the minerals. Nothing military down there. Every country in the world observes it without question. When it comes down and Switzerland, nobody invades Switzerland. Everybody goes there for Davos.
Yeah. There's certain agreements that seem to have some sway, eh? Part of me is thinking you know, like maybe there is a certain degree of truth that there is, you know, like why did the Nazis want to go to Argentina so badly of all places? Argentina has easiest access to Antarctica. It's just, you know, a few miles off the coast of that's the tip of South America.
Now, this is a true story, by the way. This is from the Hawaiian Gazette, Friday, January 11th, 1907. There's this Buddhist temple. They found this map in this Buddhist temple, and it was brought over to Hawaii to display. And it was this world map made 10 centuries ago. So this map is supposedly made in the 900s or whatever, by a Buddhist priest or whatever. Now, there's our Earth, the azimuthal projection, or what some people call the flat Earth map. That's what actually the Earth looks like. And the North Pole is the center of the world. So journey to the center of the world. Hey, there you go. And this is the South Pole. It's actually an ice wall. James Cook was supposed to traverse this, and that's why he went for 3 years. And when he came back, they burned all his papers after his death. His wife was threatened, and they took all her papers and burned them. Anyway, see this right here? That's like straight around South America. I guess this would be the South Pole. There's this land over here. There's this here. Which one of these is Mr. Bird referring to, you wonder? Right?
Well, I would ask, I mean, first of all, how do we know that this is not just a hoax? We're talking about how the media uses hoaxery to.
It was only done once, thrown, and then when you do bring it up, and there's quite a theory of thought about that, that we actually are on a globe. It's a round, you know, water's above, water's below, right? We're on a globe. Yeah, there's the firmament. Even what was his name? The NASA scientist who came over. I'm starting to get
Werner von Braun.
Werner von Braun on his gravestone is written, and God shows his firmament in thine works. And the firmament is like the thing you can't get through, like the barrier. And so, and in the middle of this, like a snow globe, is the plane, the flat plane. That's what we call aeroplanes. That's why when you make a map on a plane table. You don't take into account the curvature of the Earth. So they call them airplanes because they're planing through the plane sky, right? And that's why they can use autopilot, because if you turn autopilot on, you never move up or down. If you lived on a globe, eventually autopilot would take you right out into space, unless gravity is magical and you can't actually measure it. But we can, because we have a gyroscope, and the gyroscope measures directions, and there's only certain directions. There's north, south, left, right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
and so the Earth may spin, we'd be in a toroidal sphere, but every night the constellations are exactly the same every night, and they're always in the same spot. If we're spinning through the Earth like this, so many millions of miles, thousands of miles an hour and stuff like this, wouldn't they be off center? Sometimes wouldn't it be chaotic, but it's not. Everything's in its order, and you could always plot yourself on the sea. The Vikings did it by the constellations. So you
do have the precession of the equinox, right? Like you do have that happening. So it's not like 100% replication every night. There's a slow, subtle moving of the axis.
And there's that, yeah, I know. But I mean, anyway, so on the surface, you look at it, but that does make it, because when they talk about extraterrestrials, maybe there is something, there is some land in the globe. Maybe we are on a globe, but there is land that they've got cordoned off and nobody goes there. That's what.
Well, I'm more inclined to that one when Bird is talking about an area as big as the United States that nobody really gets to see. If he was talking about some land all the way around the flat Earth, that was way bigger than the United States landmass. I mean, we're talking, but what he's talking about in that footage would accommodate the description of what we currently see as far as the highly underexplored area behind the pole, the South Pole of Antarctica. That other side, we don't really get too much opportunity to.
You wonder if they're holding land there, and
there's no air of secrecy for sure. Like, right?
We've had all the strange, the John Kerry went there, Hillary Clinton went there. Remember why would the vice presidents be going down to the South Pole, and then when they're asked about it, we were just sightseeing.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. I mean, there's so many points of. And I think that's part of the thing, right, is that the secrecy in government creates a space for the imagination to get very exuberant, whether it's on the ET front or whether it's on whatever. Like the lies surrounding the landing on the moon. There's clearly so many lies that have been just spread. So then the minds are then very, very easily induced to go into all sorts of speculations, some responsible, some less so, and I don't know about
and of course the International Space Station, the ISS, right? Everybody accepts as real and all that stuff. But how many times have been fake being on the ISS with with green screen blips? I've gone through these. If you take a deep dive onto the ISS,
there's like case of like the woman's hair that was clearly using hairspray to try to keep it like up, and it was looking pretty.
One guy, he's supposed to be like weightless going through the ISS. They have cylinders where they go room to room, and he's flying through there, and they forgot to zap out the harness that's on his back, right?
Yeah, there's an immense amount of fakery going on. And
so why are they faking it? And then the bubbles, remember the bubbles? They're doing
it almost seems like a bit of a sick joke, right? Like it's like they're almost being so obvious, especially in recent years, the last decades.
And how much is SpaceX really seriously? When they show me those videos of the rocket coming back and landing on the stands, I only see it. Has anybody actually been there and witnessed it, taking pictures of it from
again?
Where is this happening?
Yeah, no, I concur. There's maybe that one. I'm not too sure about that. But I've seen also pretty persuasive arguments using. There's some videos that have been out there. Unfortunately, they're videos that are under like David Icke type of exposure platforms, which make it unfortunate because there's a layer of crazy around the narrative. However, I'm quite persuaded that and the first time I've ever said this publicly, that a lot of the astronauts that supposedly died in the 1980, forgetting the year of the Columbia accident, the Challenger crash, are still they continue to live. Kind of like the 9/11 terrorists after 9/11, how so many of them were discovered to still be alive long after 9/11.
I mean,
Saudi Arabia and
around 1987, people were getting really antsy. Why aren't we going back to the moon? When are we going to Mars? What's going on? What are these stupid space shuttles doing? Just flying back around and then they're landing again. What is the purpose of this? Well, to get people's minds off that, what greater way to stage a cataclysmic crash? Oh, we can't do it anymore. The technology, we're just pushing. We don't want to kill anymore.
It had multiple effects, right? It demoralized us to the very idea of science technology that formerly gave us pride that human beings could go beyond the limits to our growth and explore and discover creation. That's something which also the Malthusians that want us to have self-hate, they want to eliminate that sense of cultural optimism and faith in mankind's powers to discover the creation and to move in greater harmony with God's creation.
But
so by showcasing these incompetences and this, we become more demoralized as well, as giving it an excuse saying, oh, well, we can't.
What if the only way we can supposedly go to the moon is through faking it? Is that why there's this big push for artificial intelligence and CGI and AI and make it better and better and better to the point where we may one day be fooled into believing we're actually on Mars? We'll train astronauts to go to Mars. We'll put them in a rocket ship. We'll shoot them off into the sea and they'll all die, but we'll all be convinced they're on Mars and we'll see their avatars. Even though
so this is part of the nasty magic trick. And again, Steven Spielberg with his Ready Player One played a very big role in this dirty thing too, as did Ron, what's his name? Ron from the Happy Days.
Ron Howard,
great director, but clear initiate into Gnostic ritual. You could see that from him having been granted the assignment of portraying the Dan Brown stories of the Da Vinci Code and the Inferno story of a cult that wants to eliminate human society in order to calibrate the world by a mass cataclysm of a pandemic, and the Illuminati one from the network of
truth drop left and right behind the scenes and all of them.
Yeah, like Ron Howard, but he's also the Apollo 12 guy or Apollo 11 guy. You know, so you got these guys turning the story of science into myth. And then at the same time, technology being built up that is designed not to actually expand our ability to exist in the universe, but rather to control our minds and create the illusion of a big universe with none of the reality as the actual real world we live in becomes a cage that gets smaller and smaller.
And we're not allowed it, and we're not allowed into the woods because the elites are basically staking them off. They're buying up all the land, all the water, and whatever water they can get, they're going to just be sending to these stupid AI data centers, diverting it away from humans to the machines.
It's nasty, man. Wow. It's a really disgusting mode of thinking to get into the mindset of one of these dungeon masters. It's disgusting because it's the same shit, right? Back in the medieval ages when they were crafting these hoax maps of water demons and creatures that are going to scare you. So that's why you should not get too far from your fiefdom, serf. Right. Don't go venture too far out from the coast. You've been assigned to do some fisheries, but don't go venture too far beyond the permitted domain because that's what we control. And if you all start getting a little bit too out of the nest, then that's more work for the oligarchs to have to then get creative to figure out new ways of trying to fuck you up. So they would create these little scare stories, and that's what they've done also for. See, that's the dual thing that they've done in a dirty way for the idea of mankind in the universe. Is on the one hand, if you think about it, most of the movies that have been permitted by Hollywood over the past 60 years that deal with space and the future, it's usually bad things happening in space where you go to die or get killed by aliens. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, sea creatures and demons that are supposed to scare you and keep you on the coast. So on the one hand, most of the movies that take place in space is where human beings go to die in the void. Right? That's most of the movies. It's Aliens 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's everything. The George Clooney movie too. Where you're like, we're lost in space. Here be dragons. Yeah. See, so they had a lot of these things for centuries.
1570, the Theatrum Orbis Terra map monsters. Many recreations of old maps include dragons or other mythical sea creatures. Some include the phrase, here be dragons, yet this phrase appeared on only one 16th century globe. There it is.
Yeah. And that's what I see as the Hollywood movies of the 16th and 14th centuries. So on the one hand, they're trying to, on the one hand, keep the mind as cut off from what John F. Kennedy was trying to inspire in our idea of thinking optimistically about science, technology, the future. And on the other hand, now that they're beginning to change gears with with the new space movement that they've created with Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and the other creatures of satanic military hellscape spawn, right? That they're all now assigned to this new type of model for what is permitted for space exploration, which is basically billionaires run space policy for the military right. That's the new thing.
Well, that's a
now
good
we're
way
allowed to have a little bit of.
That's a good way to quarter it off away from the public because now it's proprietary. We can't go look. We don't have the right as taxpayers to look at it.
There's no legal supervision. There's no repercussions now of what you're doing with this stuff because it's all private, of course. So nobody's held accountable for what they're doing. The Weapons in Space Treaty no longer really applies because that's based on governments, not based on the private sector. So you got all of that going on. And then when to the degree that they want to encourage some form of optimism, because again, there is this yearning for the beyond, for the transcendental in all humans. So to capture that, they're creating this fake AI hogwash where they say, oh yeah, see, you should be proud of landing on Mars because look, clearly a fucking green screen.
Maybe they could even fake Operation Bluebeam 2.0.
Well, yeah. Well, then you got that's right. So you got
fake an alien agenda and get people to buy it if the CGI, if the AI is good enough.
Well, that's totally.
Are there enough dummies out there? A lot of dummies fell for COVID. I thought that was pretty.
Even now, they're already tooling it. So this is Colonel Lansdale, the guy who ran Operation Phoenix, was the guy who created in 1962 for Allen Dulles. Elimination through illumination, or 1960 to overthrow Castro, and that guy formulated the whole Project Bluebeam thing that Serge Monat ended up exposing, based on the idea that we could take high intensity lasers and lights at night to show over the skies of Cuba to portray the image that Jesus is somehow coming, the Messiah is returning and wants everybody. Maybe we could throw some propaganda into Cuban airspace, maybe by dumping leaflets from our planes to say that Jesus wants you to overthrow Castro, to usher in and he actually, this is an official policy document that had a name to it. Right, you did. Okay. And And this guy like ends up working with Michael Aquino and these other Satanists and overseeing
that Michael Aquino connection. It just blows my mind when I show
Totally,
people
man.
a picture and I go, "Did you know that he was part of military intelligence?" Oh yeah, he ran the Temple of Satan too. By the way, huh? What? They just can't figure it out. It blows their mind. Jack Parsons stories blows their mind. These people that are normies that have never heard about the Jack Parsons and the and that whole thing.
And he faked his death, by the way. He totally faked his death. Wait, they say he blew himself up in his garage. No, he didn't blow himself up. Satanists know that when you move to that level of the OTO, you have to give up your identity and fake your death to become something to be.
So
to
everything
go into the next phase.
Everything that becomes NASA, the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, all that stuff is run by Satanists. Everything that becomes the alien agenda is a satanic.
But see, that's the nasty thing, right? So at the same time as they're doing this and they're taking up, because there's a lot of good people in NASA who are good, high quality scientists, but they're being co-opted. They're battling it out and being iced out of the decision making of the big game, increasingly, especially after JFK and his brother are murdered. So, like Gary Webb, he seems to me, I've looked into Webb, and he seems to be like a real noble character who's battling these Satanists, and he's ultimately getting kind of iced out. But so what you have them doing on the one hand is they're taking over, they're creating fakery in the one hand that they're then marketing in a lame way to be like, this is why you should be proud of space exploration. But they know it's going to be debunked later. So they're setting, because it's multi-generational. That's how this magic trick works. That's the UFO thing works. That's why they were already thinking in 1947 about planting the seeds of something that will be used for the next chapter as the fringe thing incubates and becomes part of the more mainstream by the 60s and the 70s. So it's a multi-generational magic trick, so it's harder to see. Not as easy if it's happening right in front of you over 30 minutes on the stage by David Copperfield. But then by 1979, you have like Capricorn 1 being sponsored as a film that's showcasing, it's kind of like a disclosure in a movie about how the moon landing was faked, but now they're using sort of the Mars landing in a not too distant future. But it's like it's the same assholes who are doing both things, setting the groundwork to take the soft-minded sort of victims of the counterculture that went through all of the drugs and the Vietnam War stuff and all of the conditioning that the baby boomers were put through as like poor guinea pigs as a generation. They're now being set up to become the cynical me generation who don't believe in anything by virtue of these other, like the counter solution that's also set up for them at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's really dirty how they play this fucking game.
Yeah, from about the mid 70s to the mid 80s, there's about 10 years that it's just an age of what's the word?
Everything's good. Everything's just
the 10 years of total disillusionment. Absolutely, that's when the cocaine thing started shooting off.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Well, yeah, because like globalization starts hurting people at that point. The effects of it, deindustrialization start really hurting families. Well, that's also the movie, right? They Live with John Carpenter, that 1989 movie.
Rowdy Piper was
super useful movie to get into the insight of the ritual, because that movie, John Carpenter, who is also a high-level Gnostic, his work on Halloween, his collaboration with Steven Spielberg, his work later on doing They Live, they're telling you what the game is. People should watch that whole movie, not just that one famous scene of the dude putting on the sunglasses and
They Live is a must-watch, but I've never watched any of I've never watched Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street. I refuse to watch it from an early age. I refuse to watch that stuff.
I had to watch it. I watched a couple when I was young and did a sleepover with some friends, and that shit is trauma-based mind control to the max.
Yes.
They want everybody to experience.
I'd see 5 minutes of it and say that's
the whole slasher film genre.
The chainsaw horror thing.
Oh yeah, all slasher films, the Freddy, all that stuff. It's all Gnostic ritual Satanists who created a fake genre
too.
Yeah, exactly. The heavy metal music that was also being co-developed at the same time by the same people. The gangster rap shit that was like glorifying crime and criminal degeneracy.
And how about the punk rock thing? Give up, commit suicide, and be a hero.
Yeah, right. Yeah, this Sex
Pistol stuff. What the fuck was that?
No, man. There's so much artificial shit that was designed to like disrupt our natural flow state in our development as human beings. It's crazy. And yeah, like that Roddy Piper's character is just this typical archetypical dude who has gotten his ass kicked by globalization. He's like lost his job. He's like having to work under the table on construction sites and just get the world. He's a naive guy who believed everything was the way it seemed.
He got out of the service, came home, disillusioned from Vietnam too. That's another part.
That was another part too, right? Yeah. And lo and behold, he falls into like this Alex Jones evangelical sort of podcast movement, right?
Yeah.
And so he's now part of this Alex Jones paramilitary militia group that's kind of pulled him in to prepare for a civil war in America against the shape-shifting aliens.
Yes, of course they
which are like,
and
you can only see with
special glasses.
Yeah, so when he starts shooting up cops and going into like banks and killing people, it's not such a bad thing because they're not actually people. He's the hero killing the aliens.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like being taken empathetically with him on that journey as he goes into this underground tunnelscape that actually does exist below New York. There is like massive underground tunnels and structures where he then discovers this massive collusion between the Rockefellers and the blue blood elites and the aliens from Pleiades or Andromeda. That's it, Andromeda. To create globalization and global warming in order to heat up the world so that their lizard selves can sort of be happier on their holidays. They've recolonized the earth. And that's the kind of mindset that they want people to be in. And this goes back to like David Icke, his what is the name of his there's a theosophical Satanist who gave Maurice Doreal.
Okay.
Was a theosophical hermeticist who ran the Brotherhood of the White Lodge, which still exists, which really popularized the shape-shifting lizard story and fused that into the ancient alien things that are trying to heat up the world to replace human beings.
David E. Lynch wrote his the twin. Remember his Twin Peaks thing, and there's a Brotherhood of the White Lodge in there.
There is, eh?
Yeah.
Fucking hell, yeah. And Lynch is a nasty son of a bitch too. He's a complete Gnostic.
He knew stuff.
Oh yeah, no, his work, especially on his experimental stuff on the rabbits. This 45-minute experimental film with the weird rabbits and death. That's like a ritual initiation film. That's not just done for pleasure. He's infusing things as far as his assignment to participate or help out this alchemical transformation of his audience base. So, yeah.
And then of course we have the zombie movies. You're surviving these zombies. You're killing all these zombies, but it's okay because they're zombies, desensitizing to violence. You go overseas, kill a bunch of Arabs. Well, they're just zombies. All these Palestinians are just
liberals, or liberals that you might be killing soon, or liberals being induced to see that that's the conservative subhuman that you're killing is a zombie, And so they're creating an architecture in the mind, a space for action to take place that would be inconceivable if it wasn't being massaged now over years, right? So now the unthinkable becomes thinkable, and if it's thinkable, it's actionable. And that's the key, is that it's all in the effect. They want to get the effects, the actions.
And they've really been ramping up the chaos. We've been getting more and more disorder every year because chaos favors the establishment. The powers that ought not be love chaos because they can impose their order. That's what their motto is: ordo ab chaos, right? Order out of chaos.
That's the formula.
That's the formula. Does it work? I mean, all the best laid plans of mice and men often go awry. And I think people like me and you are waking up and seeing this. We're talking openly about these things. We're onto their trauma-based mind control scam. It's not like when our parents are growing up. It was in its nascent phase. It was still working through institutions you could trust. Like this was just after World War II. The boomers, you trusted doctors. They wore white coats. They, Edward Bernays was out ahead of you, making sure the people in the white coats would be trusted. So whatever they said went. Nobody caught on to it until this generation, where all the damage has been done. The people have come out the other side. The survivors are telling the tale. You're finding out about MK Ultra and MK Operation Butterfly. People like Kurt Metzger out there openly making it more popular to talk about. Sam Tripoli making it more popular to talk about. Even figures like Alex Jones for whatever they did to him to kind of bring him back into the fold and do that stupid $2 billion lawsuit.
I wish him well. I hope he shakes off the. I hope he shakes off the weirdness.
When he started out, a lot of good stuff came out, right? Stuff that kind of woke you up. 90% true, but 10% very bad stuff. And then, of course, you can't fall. Don't have heroes. Don't believe everything they say. Take the good with the chaff, the wheat with the chaff, because I often talk about that with David Icke. His stuff is really good. This idea of another force, a dimension of beings. He invokes the Archon idea, feeding off our illusion. These you can't see them outside of our perception, but they're there, and they work. And it's the same thing. They work with the elite to keep the elite in power, give them and allow them to have certain knowledge that they can't share with the hoi polloi, because what is power? Knowledge, right? So if they have more, if they know, if what we think is we can't perceive it, it seems like magic to us, but to them it's just a higher technology, you know.
Well, they control the shadows. That's the way Plato. I mean, I always encourage people generally to study what Plato is exposing in the Republic and in his dialogues pertaining to the techniques of controlling the shadows in the cave. And he's taking you into the sausage factory. He's really giving us a gift by showing us, giving us a guided tour of the sausage factory, of how this whole the architecture of evil operates, what types of lines of logic, what types of core assumptions it demands of us for it to function, and for what it demands of its elites for them to be assets to further and advance this unnatural structure. And then you could sort of see it as it's played out in shaping the Crusades or the 30 Years' War, or what the American revolutionaries were able to organize and rally in opposition to, breaking out of certain trends that they could have otherwise have been on, which would have seen the United States become a very different thing earlier on, that would have had a failed revolution under the forces of the Rosicrucians and the followers of John Dee and Francis Bacon, which had managed witch covens all over Connecticut and you name it. They wanted a very different outcome.
Now they're the movie makers getting blessed by Rabbi Schneerson to make movies like The Purge.
Yeah,
The Purge series is very terrifying.
I know, I've seen.
Never watched any of them. I never watched any of them.
I've seen the summaries. I watched the YouTube recaps, which helps save my my brains. I save time by not having to be subjected to the whole self-immolation of the 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
But they give you all of the gist in like 15 minutes of what the story is, what the key things I need to know, and how the garbage is being fed into the mass mind. So those things are useful. But yeah, The Purge is bad, man. That thing's really influential.
And you desensitize the mind to the idea of, hey, maybe this might be a good idea if people get too violent and can't keep them in control. Yeah. Why not have a purge? Let them release their animal mannerisms in a culturally allowed, though violent way. And isn't that what America's always been about? Shoot 'em up movies. It's cowboys and Indians. It's all
it's all in René Girard too. Like his concepts of the human sacrifice and the sacred sacrifice of you. This is the guy who trained Peter Thiel, right? Is René Girard. And he made the point that all in his idea of mimetic desires, that's his thesis. This is very influential in Curtis Yarvin and all of these technocratic transhumanist types. They all have this core idea that Girard put into words in the way he did, which is that human beings cannot possibly desire anything for the substance of the thing. We can only desire things because of an imitative desire, because others want the thing, so should we. If others want fame, we want fame. If they want honor, we want honor. So there's this, it's not for the sake of the health of our immortal soul. I don't think he actually believes in that, other than in words he uses. It's all imitative and contagious. So the more things are wanted, and it's usually objects that we want money, they want money, I want money. The more something is wanted, the more tension increases, scarcity increases. And then conflict increases, destabilization, disequilibrium increases, to the point of the system going into a fundamental entropic collapse, or somebody can be propped up to be the blame, the scapegoat, that receives that a story is wrapped around this person as the cause of the problems, and that person becomes the human sacrifice. And when everybody then can participate in some way in the sacrifice of the person or the group of people, then all of a sudden it dissipates the energy, right? That was otherwise going to destabilize and destroy the system. And then maybe some sacred story around the destruction of those people can be built up that then sustains the future generations around some festivity or something like that.
You just described the Canaanites' fate in the Old Testament.
Yes. Yeah, it's the same shit. Like Gerard he has his views of the Old Testament of the killing of Abel by Cain, as essential for what made the Jewish people even civilizationally possible, or he has the view of Remus being killed by Romulus as the essential murder that made the creation of the civilizational state of Rome possible. Was it needed to happen that way, or Christ needed to be sacrificed in order for the civilizational state of Christianity to be viable? It had to have a human sacrifice in his mind.
Yeah,
and
there's always twins or something. Twins,
oftentimes twins. Yeah, the Jesus thing.
Yeah,
huh?
and even in the movie,
yeah,
there's two of them, right? Remember that scene, the boy and the girl, but they're the twins. They're the ones being sacrificed, right? There was always you two.
Yeah,
there's always you two.
Yeah, it's
disgusting. The male and the female joining together, the shadow and the light joining together, the yin and the yang. That's their central belief. There's something to that that's nice and it sounds good. There's something, but when you have control of it and can manipulate it to your will, it becomes kind of scary, because you can actually start to believe that you are God. And that's what these Peter Thiel characters are actually doing. They're trying to supplant God. And I think these Malthusian types have been doing it for decades, centuries, probably, trying to get there. And they see their chance. Elon Musk types, hey, we can put a chip in your brain. Well,
Peter Thiel, look at what was just released just today. It's gone viral now, but some hackers went in and revealed that he has been maintained. The whole, people have known about this secret salon that manages these retreats that he's been bankrolling and overseeing for many, many years. But the attendees list was never known until today. And on that list,
it's the new Bilderberg group. It's the new.
It's like, I think it's based on the attendees. They're more low level cutout types, but still, it's the type of topics that they would talk about within their seminars were like cult creation and organization of cults, the utilization of eros in the management of social dynamics, like things that have been already used for centuries, but they were like really honing it and rehabilitating and applying it for a 21st century transhuman vibe.
Yeah.
And the attendees of this thing include such people as Elon Musk, not a surprise, but people like Scott Bessent have been regular attendees and members. Kaya Kalas.
That guy's creepy as hell.
Kaya Kalas. I didn't think that necessarily. That one kind of surprised me to see her actually on the membership list, a money-paying member of this thing too, just showcasing that it's not just the right-wing brand of the transhuman game. It's also other left-wing players.
All this right-wing brand of the transhuman game, the Peter Thiel's, Elon Musk, they were all left-wingers 10 years ago.
Yeah,
all of them.
Right.
They call themselves progressives. Elon Musk.
Well, Peter Thiel always had his libertarian review, so he was even back in Stanford.
I understand.
Yeah,
but
they flipped it. Yeah, I know. Mark Zuckerberg, Elon, they were all promoting the Democratic agenda and the liberal cause, and then but it's the same thing, right? At the end of the day, as far as the effect,
it's just the heel turn. And,
exactly.
And the way they make the public become the world wrestling audience. Oh, he's now a bad guy. Boo! Right.
I know. No, now they're doing UFC. They're celebrating the American Revolution with the UFC match on the front lawn of the White House.
Idiocracy wasn't a projection; it was a documentary.
Yeah, no. It seems like it's a sick joke, and it's really they're laughing at us, and they're taking the movie Idiocracy, and they're completely laughing to see like how real can we make this, and it's very real, and to see also people like Epstein. At the ground floor of the creation of QAnon, of 4chan back in 2011, 2012, he was already helping to be a co-creator of this Rosicrucian plot of this artificial reality game, as it was, right? that became the platform in which the QAnon creative writing scenario was able to emerge in the way it was, with its recruitment tools as well. Its Kabbalistic recruitment tools of teaching people to think symbol-mindedly.
And I never did get it, Matthew. I hope, and I got to go on eBay someday and try to find the Illuminati card game in its original form.
Oh yeah, that's out there too.
You know, they're very weird, and you're going, my God, you look through the cards, and it's like, are you kidding me? Is this actually what's going on? These they're playing a game, and they're playing a game with us amongst themselves, and we're the ones that just sit back and suffer the consequences.
It's so sick. Again, these are like Dungeons and Dragons trained assholes from the 70s, and or they were like groomed on this idea of looking at the world like a giant board game with moving parts that have certain predictability, and you know that it's sad on a few levels, because like we have this beautiful potential to be great, to be wonderful beings of divine creativity, and we've broken in the past their game on a number of occasions. That's why I write all my books, is to sort of map out in my own mind. I'm trying to like help myself.
Somebody built those beautiful cathedrals. Somebody built those great temples. You know, somebody built those pyramids.
Ugliness can't create, like, the oligarchy wants us to believe in the equation that evil creates the good. That's actually not true. That ugliness creates ugliness. Evil creates evil. You can't get goodness out of evil. Goodness can only be created by goodness. Beauty can only be created by beauty. Now you can get artificial goodness that masquerades as goodness, but is a mimic, like a Rene Girard mimic of getting the effects of moral action, but none of it's like the 1 Corinthians 13 warning, right? Without agape, without true charity, everything you could do is just clanging cymbals that appear to be good, but they're not. It's not real love. It's not real justice if it doesn't. So, they can only mimic the good. They can only copycat and undermine from within, but they can't create the good. So like you said, the cathedrals, the massive discoveries of universal beauty that had occurred by a Kepler and by a Da Vinci and a Bach and a Mozart and a Beethoven, they're like tapping into universal beauty and finding ways of applying it to help tune the minds and the hearts of the human species ever more perfectly to the creator, and as an effect, have a more great ability to leap over the limits of growth, to imagine better pathways of the future that are otherwise blocking us from having a good life for our kids. We can imagine those and then live in and build those pathways and conspire for the good. And we've done it so many times and busted their game on so many occasions. So it's like we could do this again. And some nations, I think China is, like I said, when I look at what China's been able to rally and invoke as far as their ancient Confucian ethics and civilizational values to guide their battle in the present deep state structures that have baked themselves into China over so many decades. There's a lot we could learn from as far as what they're doing, and we're not, because we're so eating up the propaganda that's teaching us to be afraid of them and to see them as our enemy that we have to like go to war with, according to Pete Hegseth, at some point.
Yeah.
So it's like very annoying, you know. And you'd think that like Peter Thiel and all these creeps, you know, if they were given given more genuine love and better opportunities when they were babies and kids, they could have like become something really like good.
Well, maybe if they weren't mind controlled MK Ultra victims, now turned perpetrators either. Right?
They only didn't get banged by fucking Project Monarch.
I mean,
molesters.
People hated Justin Trudeau and what he did to this country, Matthew, and I hate his guts because he basically helped ruin my life. That motherfucker with the whole COVID nonsense.
Right.
But I really do believe that he was a mind-based trauma control victim, and that's how he was allowed, and that's how he's gotten. That was his elevation. That was his initiation in there. He had to do what he was said, and then your victory is this way. You become famous and everything. You get to date Katy Perry, but you have no soul.
Her own fucking mind control, trauma-based.
I mean, he was just back here 3 months ago. He came back to Canada for another vaccine, a round of promoting the latest seasonal flu vaccines. For Christ's sakes.
Pathetic. What a
pathetic
character.
It's all done, right? And it's all done through he has a PR team now, right? And make sure that all these things happen. He's got his own PR team around him.
He's a
now.
Truman Show, right? That's the thing.
Yeah.
His life has been a Truman Show.
And
all of these guys, I'm sure Peter Thiel, his life has been a Truman Show. Elon Musk, his life has been a Truman Show. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
Except unlike Jim Carrey's character, they didn't discover that it's a Truman Show.
That's right.
They actually think that they're that awesome.
Yeah.
It's really sad.
Scary.
Yeah.
Well, we've been on the air for 2 hours and 19 minutes. We covered everything that I can think of when it comes to that movie Disclosure Day, and we went far afield too. We even went into what we were asking about, what Mr. Bird was talking about, seeing that land beyond the pole. That's and so I wanted to end with this. So we have these all these rumors about rock stars or whatever, faking their own deaths. Where do they go to? Well, maybe they go to that island. Maybe that talk about David Bowie Island and all that stuff is true. That's your reward. At the end of the day, you can get to your own private island, live out your
Black
days.
Star, when you become the Black Star.
Or maybe it's something
David
like
Bowie's last song. Did you listen to David Bowie's last song, Black Star?
I did not.
Watch the video. Came out 2 days before he so-called died, and whether he did or did not die. Black Star. Go to YouTube. Watch that video. It's 9 minutes long. It is messed up. I thought he left Satanism because he talked a little bit cogently about having walked away from the Crowleyism of the 70s and 80s. I thought so, and then I saw that video and I'm like, nope, you're still in it. You're the Black Star. Okay, sure, you're the Black Star.
Maybe that island. Remember that TV series came out in the late 60s, The Prisoner?
Yeah, that one said a lot. Yeah, yes.
I think that may be another use for these islands. They won't let us on. So they retire their CIA guys where they retire their celebrities, and so you never know.
Well, it's the Eleusinian island. The island of Eleusis. This is a thing. Actually, I got it in my book. I got a whole section on this, and I know you have to go to bed because you have to work tomorrow, I'm sure. But just to say quickly. This book I wrote called Revenge of the Mystery Cults, Volume 3, Edgar Poe's Final Mystery, has a chapter on, several chapters on the Elysian Fields, not Eleusis, the Elysian Fields.
Yes.
And it was outlined in ancient, in Aeneas, the Roman author who played a big role in creating sort of a new myth religion for the Roman people. When Rome became an empire, the guy was basically a Steven Spielberg-like prostitute who just stole from Homer and turned it into garbage for the Romans.
He invented the story of the wooden horse.
He invented the story of the wooden horse. Yeah, so he took the real story of Troy, which is a real story, and then just added the story of the wooden horse. And a lot more. But so all that to say, there's a story that goes back a long time that the heroes, who are the greatest servants of the oligarchs, the servants of the gods, but the gods are not the good gods here, will be granted a hedonistic reward in the Elysian Fields, a part of Hades, where only the heroes are they're allowed to have orgies and eat whatever they want and give in to all of their hedonistic desires every day, all the time, as a reward for being whatever. And I think that is actually not just a story, but it is a continuous part of the organizational principle of the oligarchs. And there's probably a number of locations around the earth that are rewards for people who have been assigned to fake their deaths and given sort of a retirement. And there's an A24 movie called Under the Silver Lake, where they reveal this in a pretty interesting way. A24 movies are very useful to get into the inner. It's kind of like reading all this Huxley's Brave New World.
That from a truth drop from God damn it, Matt McKinley from Matt McKinley, his channel. Anyway, he did a great breakdown of that, and he said that Satan is actually one writing the lyrics for all the pop bands, right? And so
yeah. Well, that's true. Really so they're just showing you how the game's been working. They're just showing you everything and laughing at you. See, Plato is showing it to you and helping you become empowered to break out of the cave. They're showing it to you and laughing at it and setting it in such a way that it locks you ever more into the cave. And so Under the Silver Lake is a really useful movie to sort of see this ritual of the fakery of the death of, like, in this case, it's a Silicon Valley billionaire type who's then rewarded by being given a period of hedonism in a mountain. Anyway, it's a whole story unto itself. That's my website right there. That's
I have to go listen to I now have to go listen to Black Star by David Bowie. No, I can't believe I haven't done that. I might have even forgot.
It's hypnotically dangerous to listen to. I've listened to it like 3 times because it's hypnotic, and I'm shocked to discover so many things every time I listen to it. It's so out there, outrageously bad, and yet good at this, like, well done execution. You'll see. We'll talk about it later. But that's my YouTube video, YouTube sort of channel.
Canadian Patriot Press.
Yeah.
I really wanted to talk about H.G. Wells, but we didn't have time because he was my favorite author growing up. Basically, I read all his stuff, watched all his stuff. Yeah. I always thought that he was like ahead of his time, sort of thing. But what was actually happening was he's a part of the secret societies, was given the script beforehand, and he was allowed to show us the future. Okay, so that's where you can find Matt on Canadian Patriot Press.
Yes,
and you can also find him on his Substack, and I'm going to share that too. Here's his Substack. Boom. And lately he's been
it's my Substack, right? That's my Substack.
And he got interviewed by the Duran there. I mean, and here's Cynthia Chung, your wife, who does great work also. There's the one.
That article that she just put out on the true origins of China's social credit system, part 1. It's going to be of part 4. We're going to make it a big documentary, or probably a series of videos, because she's going through Project Stargate. All of this is Project Stargate from Stanford, Yale, and the City of London. That's
incredible. It's whole
not a Chinese thing.
It's not. It's not. And Mao was educated in the West, by the way, people.
No, he wasn't. No, he was.
Wasn't he?
No. There was a Yale affiliation program inside of Peking University that he interfaced with. But the story of him being a one-dimensional, like, skull and bones asset is overly too simplistic. There's more nuance to that story too.
Thank you. I need that in my life because I was getting too black pilled. And here's another one. This is Black Sunrise.
That's our newest film. Yeah.
I got to watch. I got to watch Black Star Rising, and I got to listen to Black Star. It's easy.
Black Sun Rising, Black Star, and it's probably both talking about. I think Dave Bowie is talking about Black Sun, which is a fascist organizing principle.
It's crazy.
So yeah.
And here's your here's your other website here, the Rising Tide Foundation.net.
Yep. That's the other one. Yeah, that's our more cultural.
If you want to get really serious about what the message is here, this is a good place to go. Take a couple hours reading through all this stuff, and guess what? You'll be a lot smarter for it. I'll tell you that right now. So thank you so much, Matt, for joining me. Great show as usual.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking time out to appear on my tiny little podcast. Make me seem credible in the eyes of my friends, and that's just great.
Dude, RB, it's always a pleasure chatting with you, man. I love it. And I actually took a ton of notes just from shit that you dropped on me and blew my mind today. So I very much appreciate this. And
for a truck driver with a grade 12 education, I know a lot of shit. I don't know what happened to me.
Not bad. Yeah, well, we could shoot the shit about H.G. Wells if you want in the future, or whatever else that pops in your mind.
You betcha, anytime. And thank you so much. And if you ever want me to come on your show, sometime I'm amenable to it.
I got to get back into doing the interview, sir. Like, to actually host. Yeah, I got to do that.
I'd like to do a panel with some. I'd like to do a panel with some people that that are like me, former left-wing socialists, brought up in that whole euphoria and all that stuff, and what happened to us during COVID, because I think that was a lot. It woke up a lot of people to the this left-right paradigm. I think the COVID thing that
maybe a fun discussion is a fallow breaking free of left-right shackles or something could be a fun topic in which we could bring a little roundtable. That could be a okay. All right, let's keep that brainstorming going.
We got to get out. We got to get away from this paradigm, and how they try to put us into little identity cubicles so they can whack us with then they can whack-a-mole us, right? Because we can only pop up one at a time. But if we all rise up at the same time, what you going to do?
You sound like a communist.
All right, that's okay.
All right, dude.
All right,
no, I agree with you. I totally agree. We are many, they are few. That's the Shelley poem that I love.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Agreed.
I mean, it's worth a shot. I'd like, you know what I'd really like in Canada? We were talking about being the 51st state. I don't want to be the 51st state. I'd like to be, I would just like us to completely change our government system and become a true republic. You know, a true.
Is that too much to ask?
A true republic. I mean, the United States did it. Why can't we? Right? We got to get rid of the kings and queens. We got to get rid of privy councils. We got to get rid of unelected senates. It's nonsense. It's archaic. It's stupid. It's a form of open mind control. And if you guys can't see that, I don't know what else.
We can't help you at this point.
That's right.
Too far.
Talk to you later. Bye, Matt.
Bye. Cheers.
I'll see you soon. Well, that was the great Matthew Ehret. He enjoyed that. I like to talk to him. It goes all over the place, but it always kind of maintains a thread throughout it. And thank you, everybody, for joining. Thank you for pulling the strings. Karen Carpenter, thank you for being here and listening to this diatribe of ideas for the last 2.5 hours. Meg Asheva and Al Casador, thank you. Dostoevsky, Dickie Deal, tinfoil-hat lady was on. She probably went to bed by now because she can only stay up so late. She'll watch the rest later. And Calvin Abbott. And thank you again, Dostoevsky, for the $5 Rumble Rad. Yeah, I got a $5 Rumble Rad. That's so great. And so thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Next show is going to be a big one, Friday, and it's going to be early, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. my time in Saskatchewan here. I'm going to be having the great Christine Massey on, and we're going to be talking about what happened during the COVID debacle, the scam they ran on us, what was COVID-19, what is a virus actually, is there something to this terrain theory over germ theory whole thing going on that is now, because of what happened during COVID, actually getting into the public perception that, hey, maybe this whole idea of this virology is kind of weird if you really think about it. Or what are you talking about? Bad air is going to kill me? Virus, a guy coughs into a box in China. I open it up 3 days later and his flu comes out and kills me. We got to look into more of this, and we'll be discussing that with Christine Massey this Friday, 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Christine Massey. And it should be a really, really good show, and I hope you will be able to make it. So, yeah, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you want to help me out, I'm going to run my little support RVHam. There's my scroll going on there. You can go to my givesendgo.com/RVHam. I got hammered by the province of Saskatchewan for breaking COVID rules. I was protesting. I was fined for talking in public and meeting people in public. So, because it was against the law at that time to meet in a certain amount of people. So if I appeared somewhere to talk to people and there was more than 15 at one point, I would get a fine. If there was more than 12 at another point, another 20. And then basically I was just, and then if I did any organizing or spoke at these things, they hammered me, but not people who showed up. Not everybody who showed up would get tickets until the end, when they decided to put, when Maxime Bernier had a political rally here in Saskatoon before the second last election. He had a political rally. It was before he came. They said you can't gather in public in more than 15. We said screw it. We all went to go see this political rally, and they had cops with cameras there taking pictures of people, putting them in the paper, and say, "Can you identify these people?" Because we want to give them fines for showing up at this in the park to listen to somebody speak in an unprescribed manner. So it's a horrible thing to live through. It broke up families, turned neighbors against each other. It's probably the desired effect of what they wanted, right? And of course, now we have all the vaccine injuries going on and stuff, and everything we warned about, how the lockdowns are going to be much more detrimental to everybody, especially kids, cutting off their schooling and all that stuff, completely destroying their 2 years of their lives when you're at a very formative age is very, very damaging. And we're all understanding that now. But it's going to be a great show, and we'll talk more about this then. And so you can support me there. And I'm going to say goodnight. Now, on my way out, I'll play my other theme song before I leave. As I leave is my going away song. 2.5 hours don't usually go this long, so I'm a little tired. I can tell my wife has got supper in the oven. I can smell it. So until next time, remember, oh my God, I'm going to cough. a little bit of a frog in my throat. Conventional wisdom is simply conventional deception. If you want to get to the truth, you have to go beyond the pale. Talk to you later. Bye.
Yeah. Beyond the pale. I stand as the wardens. They sent our sons to war. Yeah. Yeah. Beyond the pale. Yeah. They sent our sons to war, a cruel charade, a racket built on blood, where fortunes are made. They lie about the reason, spin tales so tall, while heroes die for profit and empires fall. Politics, a game, a circus of clowns, puppets on strings, they parade through our towns. They distract and divide us with hate as their tool, pitting brother against brother in a world they misrule. When the powers that be warn you not to go beyond the pale, then that's a sure sign there's more to the tale. When the powers that be warn you not to go beyond the pale, yeah, then that's a sure sign there's more to the tale. The anti-human agenda, plain as the day. They view us as bugs in their cold, heartless play. Eat insects, they sneer while they feast on the land. Depopulation's their goal with the tightening hand. Civil rights torn to shreds in the name of their peace. A police state rises where freedoms all cease. Gaslight us with propaganda, their lies never end. Twisting truth in their grip till our minds start to bend. When the powers that be warn you not to go beyond the pale, then that's a sure sign there's more to the tale. When the powers that be warn you not to go beyond the pale, yeah, then that's a sure sign there's more to the tale. Order out of chaos, their sinister creed. They spark the flames, then offer what we need. Economic stagnation, they choke out our dreams, while divide and conquer rips us at the seams. They fan every fracture, they stoke every fight, left against right, till we're blind to the light. Yet beyond the pale lies the truth they conceal, a world where we're free, where our hearts can still heal. When the powers that be warn you not to go beyond the pale, then that's a sure sign there's more to the tale. When the powers that be warn you not to go beyond the pale, yeah, then that's a sure sign there's more to the tale. So step past their warnings, their fences, their lies. See the world they've been hiding with wide open eyes. Beyond the pale, where their power grows frail, we'll reclaim our future and truth will prevail. Beyond the pale. Beyond the pale. When the powers that be warn you not to go beyond the pale, then that's a sure sign there's more to the tale. When the powers that be warn you not to go beyond the pale, yeah, then that's a sure sign there's more to the tale. Beyond the pale, yeah.